So was this one of those snow days that your grandparents used to tell you about, that they used to have to walk to school in how many, you're from Huber, right? So you live in Huber, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many inches of snow did you get?
Like six.
I think we got about 4 or 5 just here in the Kettering area.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get, it's a good chunk when you're trying to get your car to the driveway. My arms are killing me. I shoveled the drive for about a good hour earlier today. Helped some neighbors get their cars out and everything like that. But
look
holy
at you,
smokes,
neighborly
man.
guy.
I try to be. It's tough to even take care of my own stuff. So,
it is the absolute worst, man. It is the absolute worst, man. A couple of my neighbors have snow blowers, and I'm seeing them zip up and down the driveway while I'm out there shoveling. The wife comes up to help me shovel, and we only have one real snow shovel, so I have that, and then she has like one of the shovels that you only use like for gardening and everything like that. She's trying to help, and it's just like, this sucks. This truly sucks. So we contemplated going to buy a snowblower. So the lowest price snowblower was like $500. We decided against that because we found out we found a company that can come plow our driveway if it gets real bad, like it just did this past night. That'll do it for $25.
We need to get him to be a sponsor.
Exactly.
We'll plug the hell out of who that is. We can't, but I would love to give that dude a shout out because that's wonderful. And yeah, you're right. I'll let you finish your story, but no, it all adds out.
But yeah, it's like we were talking about off air. Like, so $25. Say we get it hit with bad snow like this 4 times a year. That's $100 for the year, as opposed to dropping $500 for 4 times a year, maybe. So I think I'm gonna go that route. I can man up and shovel when it's doable, but this wasn't doable.
No,
I wasn't feeling it.
And here we are complaining. I will say this though. I don't get people's obsession with being angry at the weatherman or weatherwoman. I have no clue why. That's a thing. According to their radar, look, we all saw it on our radar. We saw that it was dumping on us, and it wasn't coming down as fast or it really didn't come down as heavy as I thought it was going to.
Right.
We were really ready to hunker down and all this stuff. We had all our phones charged, iPads, laptops, everything ready to go in case we needed
Lost
to.
power.
Oh yeah. So we, the important stuff, the iPads, the laptops, all the essentials, right? But no, at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't believe how many people were. See, I knew it. Wrong again. Wrong. I'm like, I'm kind of glad that they're wrong. If they say a tornado's coming and a tornado doesn't actually come, that's a good thing.
Right.
If a blizzard is coming and it doesn't hit, that's a good thing. I don't get it. I would rather be over-prepared for a storm coming that doesn't really reach its full potential than to not have been warned at all and then just been out and about enjoying my day and all of a sudden just get dumped on like this. I'm like, what the heck? I had no idea. So be nicer to the weather people out there, folks. Like, let's be clear. I would rather be overtold something to be prepared for something than to, but people get mad because they go and overspend on groceries and all that. But let's say that the storm did hit really good yesterday. You're locked inside for yesterday and today. Do you not normally have food for 2 or 3 days in your house at least? Like, I know, me and Nora and you and your wife, we all don't have kids, so we just have ourselves to fend for.
Right.
But,
I ain't got to worry about nobody but us. It's all good, man. We got oodles and noodles. We got all the good cupcakes, all the good snack food in the house just in case something goes wrong.
And especially me. Look, got this nice bag of Skittles sitting here next to me as well.
Water
during the show. So there we go. All right. It's a sports talk show, so we could jump into the sports side of things, right? But no, in all seriousness, I hope everyone, I think you should try to enjoy these days as much as you can. For those of you who had a snow day, and let's be clear, most of you have had a snow day going back to last March. We've all been stuck at home, more of us than, some of us more than others. I had my equipment ready to go at home in case I, couldn't make it out. My car got stuck right in the middle of the road on the way here. So I was about to call you and be like, hey, you're on your own. I'm doing the show from the kitchen today. So
Sweet dude.
There's that. So how about this? We talked about last week the Texans and not Deshaun Watson so much. That's I'm ready for him just to get traded already. I'm really tired of every time you turn on the show, it's so where can Deshaun Watson end up? I'm getting bored with that already. I'm telling you right now. And if we're bored with it, our listeners are bored with it. But the J.J. Watt thing kind of took an interesting turn today. When he was initially released, I expected a lot of teams to be definitely interested. Look, he's one of the top pass rushers in football. He's also a guy that has quite the price tag on him too. He was supposed to make $17 million this past season with the Texans. Okay. Now, I knew there was going to be a lot of interest. A lot of teams out there need pass rushers. It's essential. You need good lockdown secondary guys, and you need pass rushers. Teams are forgoing good linebackers more times than not. Like if you're going to, you know what I mean? If you're going to pick where you want to distribute a lot of your money, you're going to take weaker linebackers and have dominant pass rushers and a good secondary, right? You're going to pick those more than others. So I figured he was going to be of high value, especially when you start looking at the draft coming up. There is no Nick Bosa. There is no Chase Young. There is no, you know what I mean? Like there is no elite pass rusher. Ohio State failed this year, apparently, right? No, I'm joking. Like they had like 4 of the last 5 defensive rookie of the years. Yeah. I mean, they know how to put them in the league. I tell you that much. But there is no defensive threats like that on the defensive line in this draft. It's very weak as far as that goes. So that's going to up the value of these free agent guys even more. Some guys will be like, well, I'm not going to spend money on him. I'd rather just trade up, take a defensive tackle in the draft and hope that we land on something special. Not saying that teams don't want to land on something special, but I think you're going to take your chances and go after a J.J. Watt or some of the other premier pass rushers that are going to be available here in the coming weeks. But the Cleveland Browns, an article, Mary Kay Cabot out of Cleveland, she tweets out that the Browns are of high interest of Watts. It's not just that they're interested in him, that he's interested in them as well. And look, why not? And I put this out on Facebook earlier. I love the idea. I love the idea of adding Watt to this defense. I love the thought that Joe Burrow is going to have to worry about Myles Garrett and J.J. Watt. Whether it's Mason Rudolph or Big Ben, they're going to have to worry about Myles Garrett, especially Mason Rudolph, by the way. Have to worry about have to worry about Myles Garrett and J.J. Watt. I think that's pretty dang cool. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love that. Lamar Jackson, same thing. But at what price for the Browns? I love what he brings to the table. Of course, I would love to see him in Cleveland. I would love to see him be part of that pass rush for the Cleveland Browns. But at what cost? They have about $22 million. They have $22 million in cap space. I don't want 16 of that going to one player.
Right.
I just don't. I don't think, he's good. I don't think he is that good to justify giving that big chunk of your free cap space this offseason to give to him. I don't know what that price would be. I would love to see it between the 8 and 10 range, but I don't see him taking a 50% pay cut to go play in Cleveland. I don't see Pittsburgh working out. Pittsburgh doesn't have the cap space to keep half of their own guys on that current roster. Big Ben's having to rework his deal just for the Steelers to be able to keep a lot of guys on their roster currently. I don't see them having enough cap space left over to be able to actually add J.J. Watt. I keep seeing on Facebook, oh, J.J. Watt. He's going to Pittsburgh. I'm like, he's not going to Pittsburgh. Unless he literally just takes the most team-friendly deal, Kev, right? Yeah. Like, he is not going to Pittsburgh. That's not me hating. I thought at the beginning that Pittsburgh made all the sense in the world, but they're not going to be able to afford him. Right. Cleveland does make the most sense. They check off everything that he's looking for as well. He wants to go play for a contender, and he wants to have a dominant pass rusher on the defensive line that he could play alongside. And the Browns have that. They're a contender. They have that. They're going to most likely, if they get him and add some key pieces in the defense, they're most likely going to be the favorites to win the AFC North heading into next season. That's not me being a Browns homer. That's just the vibe that I'm getting to, heading into this offseason. They seem to be more of the aggressors. The Ravens going to be focusing on the offensive side. Steelers just trying to keep what they had together, and the Browns are hungry and ready to go heading into Baker's final year of his rookie contract. So they're going to be aggressive as well. Kev, do you think that J.J. Watt ends up in Cleveland when it's all said and done?
It definitely was on my top 4. If you remember from last week, I said there's 4 teams. It's the Rams and the Steelers if he's willing to take a big haircut in pay. But the thing about it is, people want to be fairly compensated. So I don't knock J.J. Watt for wanting to be fairly compensated for what he's worth, and he's a Hall of Fame player and everything like that. The other 2 teams are the Browns and the Titans, who can pay him.
The Titans, that's the other one. My bad. Yep.
The Browns and the Titans are other teams that have money that they can spend on him. Now, he won't be getting paid as much as he would have been if he would stay with the Texans, but they can pay him a lot more than the Rams or the Steelers can. So it really all comes down to that. Because all 4 of those teams are basically in the same spot. They're basically in the same spot. They have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Like, if any of those teams won the Super Bowl, nobody would be blown away. But it's at cost. What are you willing to give up? How much money are you willing to give up to go play for that team? Are you willing to go out there, like you just said, and play for a basement bargain price for the Steelers? Are you willing to go out there and play for a league minimum contract with the Rams? Are you willing to get paid a little bit of scratch to play for the Titans? Are you willing to get paid a pretty nice chunk of change to go play for the Browns? In my eyes, I would go ahead and try to do the best of both worlds. I would probably sign with the Browns. They're willing. They have the most cash to give you, and they have the most potential to get a run in the playoffs. So it's leaning towards the Browns in my eyes. And he's playing that. Not going to be playing the 3-4 end spot anymore. He's going to be playing more of a traditional D end spot with the Browns next to a great pass rusher like Garrett. I could see it happening for him. I could see him making a play for that.
Here are the other free agent defensive ends. Defensive ends and tackles mixed in. J.J. Watt, the number one defensive end that's available right now. Leonard Williams, 27 years old, going for about the same asking price, or at least as far as what he previously made. He made $16 million last season with the Giants. Kawan Short, who was just released today. I think Carolina just released him today. Also,
Boilermaker.
And he's the same age as J.J. Watt.
Right.
And that's what I don't understand is people on Twitter, when that's who the Browns need to go after. I'm like, look, I'm fine with J.J. Watt. I'm fine with whoever they go after. It's one of those where it reminded me of the Reds with Yasiel Puig. Did I think that the Reds needed to knock down the doors of the Dodgers to get Yasiel Puig? That deal was more done for pitching than it was anything else. But Puig was one of those where, if he ends up on the, roster moving forward, that's just a luxury. It's kind of cool. It's nice to have him. It's great. But if the Reds lose him, it is what it is. You move forward. That's J.J. Watt in Cleveland to me. If you have him, I think he's good. And I think Watt to Cleveland is way more impactful than what Puig was for the Reds. But either way. But I'm looking at these guys. So Kawan Short, again, 32 years old. He's made $16 million last year with Carolina. Jadeveon Clowney, I don't touch him. He's $13 million last season with the Titans. I wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't even come close to that. I kind of like, and this was a guy that was rumored.
He already turned the Browns down last year for more money.
Yeah.
He took less money to go to Tennessee and ended up getting hurt. The thing about Clowney, man, he's had 2 productive years. His last year with Seattle was very productive, and he had one outstanding year with the Texans. And him coming off a great season with the Seahawks. Granted, it wasn't like sack-wise, but it was that defensive containment on the edge and all those type of things that really don't pop on the stats. But nobody was willing to give him a long-term contract. The biggest contract offer he got was from the Browns, and he turned it down to go to the Titans. So just for like spite-wise, I wouldn't do it if I was the Browns.
But for one, he very much so underperformed last season with the Titans. I don't know what the Titans situation is as far as wanting to bring him back.
I think he only played like 3 games.
They need a pass rusher, which is why they're going to be in on J.J. Watt as well. But the thing is I think, I thought that the leverage was going to be in favor of these free agent pass rushers because of the weak draft coming up. But I think because there's so many defensive tackles and ends available, it's actually going to probably minimize the price, right? I think the price goes down a bit because there is so many of them out there. I don't think that, what I mean? The demand's there, but there's also enough, out there for teams to go out and get. The name I really like is a name that was rumored last season for the Browns and that they never ended up pulling the trigger with this guy from, of course, the Jaguars, and that was Yannick Ngakoue.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Ngakoue. In fact, Baltimore ended up signing him, and I don't know if he's, all these guys are unrestricted free agents as we currently sit here right now. Ngakoue's 26 years old. So if I'm Cleveland, but this goes back to my point about the importance of the quarterback being on the rookie deal. It's the most over-talked about thing outside of me saying LeBron is the greatest of all time on this show. The rookie contract is the best thing in the history of sports right now. All right. It works for teams, but after that 4 years, it works against you. But there's no better time to be a fan of a team. Unfortunately, it's either your team's winning a Super Bowl or your team just drafted a rookie quarterback, and it's an exciting 4-year rush. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like college. It feels like, man, you get 4 years of Justin Fields. You get 4 years of Trevor Lawrence. Now, these cats are going, for 3, 2.5, not playing all. You just see what I'm saying, though. You get 4 years to watch these teams go all in with these guys, and what are they going to do? And this is why I don't think a guy like Ngakoue, who I like better than J.J. Watt just because he's younger, Ngakoue kind of doesn't make sense for the Browns. The Browns are in a win-now mode, Kev. J.J. Watt, everyone out there saying, no, I don't want him. He's too old. I like J.J. Watt for the reason of you're not bringing in someone young that's trying to learn anything like that. He's a veteran. You know what you get with him. He played all 16 games last year for Houston. Okay, he's one of the top. I think he had one of the best efficiency years of all pass rushers last year in the National Football League, according to Pro Football Focus. If we get that J.J. Watt, then Cleveland is in good hands. But Cleveland's in a win-now mode. Mm-hmm. That's why they went out and got OBJ. They didn't get out OBJ long-term to build around him, and he may not be with Cleveland next year. We'll get into that coming up in a moment. But, you had Jarvis Landry wrapped up for a couple years. You have Kareem Hunt wrapped up for a couple years. They're going to be working on Baker and Chubb over the next year and a half of getting them, inked to a couple more years as well. the time to win is now, because here in about a year, Kev, they're not going to have this cap space to be able to go out and plug these holes. So this is why, if I'm the Browns, I guess I do go all in on J.J. Watt. But of my 22 million available in cap space, I don't give more than half to him, though. But I'm looking at, Leonard Williams, Kawan Short, Jadeveon Clowney, Justin Houston's even available, defensive end from the Colts. But the Colts most likely are going to give him what he wants. I mean, I read today that they're going to, make sure they work that out with him. I mean, Tyrone Crawford, Ndamukong Suh, he's going to 34 years old. He's the oldest of this bunch. Mm-hmm. He's going to stay, with obviously the Bucs. So Trent Murphy, Solomon Thomas, Daquan Jones. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's some really good pass rushers available. I love this free agent class right now for pass rushers. Cleveland needs one. I just wish they would have acquired one through a trade last year, like not Ndamukong Suh. Ngakoue from the Jags. I would have really liked them to do that. But let's say they add J.J. Watt. What does that mean? Now, what does that mean? I don't know how much better their defense is. They have 2 elite pass rushers now. Like, let's be honest. I mean, I didn't think that their D-line was the problem last year.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Right? I'm not necessarily sold that J.J. Watt makes them that much better. I would think that the play with them in free agency would be linebacker, and preferably inside linebacker, someone that can cover the middle of the field and dropping those deep zones and everything like that. They got a pass rush, and Claiborne was good on the other side of Myles Garrett this past season. So J.J. Watt going there is, adding as a Hall of Famer to your team, it can only make you better, but I'm just not sure if it's going to make you that much better. They already won 11 games last season during the regular season. So, like, the addition of J.J. Watt, that's not going to say, like, oh, man, now they're going to win 13 games.
I like that veteran presence in the locker room, too. This roster's relatively young.
Yeah, that goes a long way. That goes a long way. But I think a lot of that also with the Browns, you saw a lot of maturity from that team, and a lot of that maturity came from the head coach. So I think the guys on the Browns team are buying in what the coach is selling. And when you have a coach like that that's selling something and the guys are buying in, I don't necessarily believe that you need to have veteran leadership, because the leadership is already coming from the head guy, the coach. So I just don't necessarily believe that he makes them that much better. Like, all right, bang, he's a piece that they've been missing to get him over the hump. Like, he's not, because it's the linebacking core that messed them up this season. I agree. And I know that a lot of people are like, no, it's the secondary. Well, the linebackers play a big role in secondary. This ain't backyard football where it's just straight man-to-man all the time. Like, it's a lot of man-to-man with a ton of zone concepts with it. And those linebackers play a big chunk in that. I mean, the biggest hole on that team was the linebacking core. I mean, I know Goodson had a good year, rocking number 93 and everything like that, but the guys beside him, Mack Wilson didn't have a good year. Everybody expected him to have a breakout second year player out of Alabama. He didn't. So do you go to the draft and try to find somebody in the draft? You could do that. Or do you find the best free agent available and give them a lot of money and plug that spot?
Yeah, and keep in mind, and like they're going to get some guys back. I mean, the Delpit, the guy from LSU. But again, when Browns fans say that, it drives me nuts. We have no clue who he is.
Facts.
And I'm going to stay consistent here. I'm not going to do that whole, like, I got mad at Bengals fans about Jonah Williams. Remember, everyone's like, oh, that's fine, they're going to have Jonah Williams. I'm like, he's nothing to me because you haven't seen him. Now, Bengals fans, I'm talking about rewinding to the beginning of last season when everyone was telling me everything was going to be okay because Jonah Williams is back. I'm like, but who is Jonah Williams? You don't know who he is. In Delpit, I don't know who he is. In the NFL, I don't know who he is. We can't just assume that you're just going to plug him in and everything's going to work out okay. I like Denzel Ward. I think you got to keep him, of course. And then, of course, you're going to get Delpit. You're going to be young. They're going to have to get a secondary guy. Probably that's what they're going to, focus on in the draft, whether it's linebacker or secondary. But I just don't think, as much as J.J. Watt would be cool to add to this, Kev, you have Vernon. You had Sheldon Richardson. You had some other guy, and Claiborne, and you talked about him. I like all of them. I don't think that was the problem for them last year. Could you upgrade? Yeah. But why? You only upgrade if you have some of your other ducks in line. And I don't think you have enough ducks in order as far as the defense goes for the Cleveland Browns. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We got plenty more to get into. We're going to talk a little association today. Kevin and I will disagree on this, and that's okay, but we're going to have a regular conversation. I'm not going to go all Kinner mode today. At least I'm going to do my best. I've been called plenty of names on social media already for a take that I didn't even think was that big a deal, but apparently it was. We'll get into that coming coming up around the corner. The difference, at what point does opting out, where's the opting out and quitting, where does the line get blurred? We're going to discuss that in a moment. I think it's a fair conversation to have, and I don't even think that it's necessarily saying anything bad about this kid, although there is a lot of negative connotations that come when you say someone's quitting. I believe he is. You probably don't believe he is. We'll talk about it. But we'll get to that.
Tease him.
We'll tease him. But that's going to come up at 4:00. But I'm curious, Browns fans. We're going to open up the phone lines at 457-9464. JJ Watt. I put this on the top of the Facebook post, and we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show. JJ Watt would be awesome. We would love him in Cleveland. But how much of a priority should the Browns make him? How much of a priority should J.J. Watt be for your Cleveland Browns this offseason? Is it one of those where if they get him, great, cool, you're excited about it, or are you losing sleep at night? Man, the Browns, they have to get him. This would be monumental. This would make them Super Bowl contenders. I think there are a couple pieces. Like, Kev, I'm not joking. They're a linebacker and a reliable secondary piece away from being Super Bowl contenders. And I say that in the most least homer way possible. I think they are legit Super Bowl contenders. They will have everything you need. A great offensive line, a great run game, adequate quarterback play, good passing. Actually, I say adequate quarterback play, but a very good passing team. They are a very good passing team. They have the run game. They have the offensive line. They have the pass rushers. Give me a linebacker. Give me a key guy that you can rely on in the secondary. The Browns have everything you absolutely need to be a Super Bowl contender. Not favorite. I'm not picking them over the Chiefs, but I don't think the gap between, if you tweak that defense just a tad, I don't think the gap between the Browns and the Chiefs is that large, as homeristic as that could potentially sound. But Browns fans, 457-9464, how much of a priority should the Browns make J.J. Watt? We'll be back in a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 20. Tonight's also going to be mostly cloudy, a low around 2. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 23. I'm Pete Spyback for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point, off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for entry-level machinist. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages with merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, bonus programs, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
All across the nation, we are here for our communities.
We're doing our part to get supplies where it's needed in order to fight COVID-19 together.
Got to do what we got to do, helping the people that did lose their jobs and lost their income, and now they don't have money for their food.
It feels good to be out there to assist our community with what we're dealing with. It's what you sign up for as a soldier.
We will not rest until the mission is complete.
Each one of these soldiers, once they received the call, they understood that all hands were on deck. This goes to the core of what citizen soldiers do.
We are your Army National Guard.
I would like our friends and family to know that your National Guardsmen are always ready and always there.
Always ready, always there. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard, aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
New year, new goals, and new listens on Audible. Discover Audible Originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more, all in one place. Start your free trial at audible.com.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Panera's new flatbread pizzas are here. But to our new chef, Klaus, they're not just pizzas. They're masterpieces. Because it's not just cheese. It's hot and melty mozzarella and fontina cheese. It's not just sauce. It's market tomato red bell pepper sauce. And it's not just toppings. It's fresh mozzarella, basil, and grape tomatoes. Taste our delicious new flatbread pizzas today. Order online for pickup or delivery. Panera. Restrictions apply.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Dayton Flyers basketball fans, don't miss Talking Out Loud with Sully every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Game recaps, game previews, visits from former Flyer greats, and more. It's a show by the fans, for the fans. Talking Out Loud with Sully, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Wear red and be loud. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, and we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show, and you'll be able to like and follow along. You can watch the show weekdays from 3 to 6, live on Facebook. Listen, stream, and watch. Listen on 1410 Wing AM. You can stream the show live at wingam.com and watch the show live on Facebook. Again, search The Justin Kinner Show, like the page, and follow along. In fact, if you head there right now, you'll be able to jump in on the current conversation we're having about the Cleveland Browns and J.J. J.J. Watt. It's one of those things where I said this to someone in the comment section on the post I had on Facebook earlier today, Kev. I said, can you believe that a few years ago the Browns are 0-16? A few years ago, if you combine a couple years, they won one game in 2 seasons. A few years ago, one of the laughing stocks in the NFL. And yet here we are literally saying things like, well, I don't know if we need J.J. Watt. Things change. The life comes at you fast, and that's where we're at. Don't get me wrong. I think J.J. Watt helps a ton. I definitely think he helps a ton. I think that when you look at the division alone, you need pass rushers. I think you need, for Baltimore, you need linebackers. If you want to contain Lamar Jackson, you need linebackers. And if he gets comfortable passing the ball, you need a good secondary. I don't know if pass rushing up the middle is that. I mean, that almost helps you sometimes. If anything, if I'm a defensive coordinator, I love Lamar Jackson in the pocket. Stay in the pocket. I don't want to scare him into running to the outside, because that's when you hold your breath and you fear and you pray to every God out there, right? I don't want to force him out there. I want good linebackers for Lamar Jackson. But the pass rusher alone, Myles Garrett, J.J. Watt, look out, Joe Burrow. You better hope that Jonah Williams is the Jonah Williams that everyone wants him to be. You better hope that Sewell, which, by the way, every mock draft that keeps coming out keeps having Sewell move up and up and up. He may not be there at number 5 when the Bengals are selecting in the upcoming NFL draft here in a few months. So it's going to be an interesting thing, but the Bengals need to pay attention to that too. Everything that the Browns do, I'm not just making this a Browns-Bengals thing, but the Steelers are paying attention. For once, everyone's paying attention to what the Browns are doing, and it's not for bad reason. It's for, they got to keep track of what they're doing, because whatever move they make, what are we going to do to counter that?
Right.
Oh, man. They get J.J. Watt, we got Penny Sewell, so we at least are adding to our offensive line. They got J.J. Watt. Okay, we're going to go and we're going to get the kid from Alter, the former Patriots lineman, Tooney. They got to get him. They need to be thinking that way. That's how, when you start trying to go punch for punch with teams to counter their move, that's what you got to do to try to win this division. And it's a super competitive division. 3 of the 4 teams made the playoffs last year, and it's going to become tougher and tougher. But Browns fans, as exciting as this could be to get J.J. Watt, how much of a priority should it be for them to get J.J. Watt? I think it's one of those where you reach out to his camp, Kev. Hey, you were going to make $16 million last year. We can't do that. We can go 10 to 12. 10 to 12. I don't think that's that bad. You can go to the 13 range. That's what that's what I forgot his name already. Clowney. That's what Clowney got last year. And his camp accepts it. Boom. You still have $7-8 million to work with. You could still go out and get a linebacker. You could still go out and plug whatever holes you need.
And don't forget, the Browns still can make roster moves by cutting different players that they don't want in their team anymore. Salary cap victims and everything like that. That stuff can still go on to increase the cap number. So, what do you think is a fair price to pay J.J. Watt, the future Hall of Famer?
If he wants his $16 million, stick to it. There will be teams out there that'll give it to him. I do think that. I do think that there are teams out there who would give it to him. One that I read today, which he would not go to, and it wouldn't make sense, but they would have the money to give him, is the Jaguars. The article I read today said Urban Meyer is going to, they want to be a young team that can develop, but Urban knows this just from his time in college. You need veteran players. You need, in college, it's upperclassmen. You need the upperclassmen to help groom the underclassmen. Urban Meyer's not a fan of the idea of making of the youth movement on the Jaguars, of being super young on the offensive side and the defensive side, right? So I understand why they would be in the mix of, they would be able to offer him the most money.
Right.
But Urban wants, he wants veteran guys, and they're good, proven veteran guys. So I get that. I don't think that's happening. Again, if he wants the money, that's where he's going to go. But I don't think that's going to be where he ends up. I think he ultimately pushed his way out of Houston because, hey, I want to win. I'm 32 years old. Right. I probably have 2 to 3 good years left in this league, maybe 1.5 good years left, 3 years left in the league, a year and a half of elite level play. I think he wants to go to a contender right away, which Cleveland makes all the sense in the world. So for me, Kev, just sum up, the 10 to 13 mil, I don't go a cent above that 10 to 13 mil.
That's fair. I think that's a fair price for the future Hall of Famer.
Would he go for it?
I don't see why not. And I don't see why anybody wouldn't be offering him at least $13 million. I think that's a fair price. I think that's beyond fair, to be perfectly honest. I think every team that's out there that wants him on their team should be offering him about that. Because if you're not offering him that, he's not going to listen.
Nope. And real quick, we're live on Facebook. Doug on Facebook says, if Watt doesn't want a huge salary, then the Browns should sign him. A great locker room guy that will be an added plus guy to the younger guys on the Browns team. And that's the one point we made earlier, is like his presence alone is going to go beyond just what he can do physically on the field. It's going to be that veteran presence. Like, I think they're missing that on the defensive side.
Right.
The offense, I feel like they have a good core group with a good head on their shoulders. I think Stefanski has that in check. The defense, I still think, and that's no shot at Myles Garrett or anybody. I just don't know who's the face of the Browns defense.
Right.
I think that would be J.J. Watt. Myles Garrett, technically yes, because he's the Browns guy. They drafted him. But Watt would be that central force that I think everything would gravitate around to a certain extent, right? Like just that proven veteran player. Either way, regardless, him and Myles Garrett would be fantastic together.
So what about the injuries? Because he has an injury history. McKinney called in with his take last week, talk about his robotic arm and everything like that. But last season he did play 16 games. The year before that he played 8. The year before that 16. But those middle 2 years, the year that he played 3 games and 5 games, those are the years that really stand out to people, because all the previous seasons before that he always played 16 games and was always in double-digit sacks and always causing havoc and everything like that. I want to say a 2-time defensive player of the year and everything like that. But the thing that everybody looks at about J.J. Watt is that big thing on his arm. He has that elbow situation always going on with him. So where are you at with the whole injury thing that J.J. Watt deals with?
I'm always weary of injuries. And this is a guy that has an injury history, right? But look at what he accomplished last season. I'm glad, he was double teamed pretty much every time. They had no other weapons on the defensive line, especially. So they just threw double teams his way. Even though he faced double teams all season, Kev, he appeared in all 16 games. He finished the season with 52 tackles. He had 5 sacks and 17 quarterback hits while being double teamed all season. He was the 7th highest grade edge rusher in 2020, according to Pro Football Focus, graded at 85.5. Now, I say all that because those numbers come while being double teamed. Imagine, if you are an offensive line, you have to worry about Myles Garrett and J.J. Watt. He's not getting double teamed as much. And if he is, more power to whoever is double teaming him, because that means Myles Garrett, he's coming for you. And if you throw the double teams at Myles Garrett, guess who's going to come at you? J.J. Watt. I like this idea. I think if it happens, I'll be happy with it. I'm not losing sleep at night, waking up every morning saying, come on, Browns, get this done. Get this done. I think it's a luxury if it happens. And if it doesn't, I don't think it means the Browns are in trouble. They're in trouble. Even if they add J.J. Watt and they don't get better at linebacker and they don't get a secondary guy they can count on, Kev, I still think their defense was so bad last year, and it's going to be a concern next season unless they get a J.J. Watt, unless they get, upgrade at linebacker or at secondary. So Delpit coming back isn't going to be just enough to take him to that next level. We shall see.
I know a lot of people are going to look at Grant Delpit coming in as a extra first-round pick or second-round pick, whatever he went to last year, because obviously he didn't play this year. But I do worry about this whole thing about Browns fans saying, oh, man, we're going to get Greedy Williams back. We're going to get Grant Delpit
I forgot about
back.
him. Yeah.
Well, Greedy Williams was hurt not his entire rookie year. He was banged up his rookie year, out all his second year. Now you're going to say, oh, we're just going to plug him back in and he's going to play out at outstanding level. Then you look at Grant Delpit, who was out his whole rookie year because of the injury. And then you look at Denzel Ward, former Buckeye, who when he's on the field, he's excellent. He's a playmaker in the secondary. It's just a simple fact of him staying on the field, and he has a litany of issues. Obviously, the hamstring, the concussions, which is the biggest part, and those things right there. I know I'm the guy that says injuries are a part of the game, but that's the entire secondary. That's the entire secondary that is constantly banged up all the time. So I'm with you. I think that people just penciling those guys in and saying oh man, we're gonna be fine once these guys get back. As we see, injuries happen, and when guys are out, second team guys aren't as good as the starters. And we saw that in the Super Bowl with the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs. So, with these guys having an injury history and always banged up and everything like that, that's something to keep an eye on in the draft, man, because the Browns, they do have a window to win this, and they can't sit around waiting for guys to be all right, yeah, this year they're going to be healthy. That's not how you want to play football.
All right, last comment here, and we'll step away for a few moments. This one coming from Brad Bowser on Facebook. Kevin goes, I agree with Kevin. I'm with Kevin. Pass rush is not the priority for the Browns. What would be needs? But remember, Vernon started playing really well before getting injured, and that was our points from a little bit ago, too, about, look, dude, I don't think when you start dissecting and prioritizing what deficiencies the Browns had at the defensive side of the ball, pass rush just wasn't one of them. Could you improve as a pass rushing team? Absolutely. You can always improve at something. But is it a priority to make sure that happens? I don't think it is. I think that you have an opportunity here in the draft and free agency to address linebacker. You have $22 million in cap space to be, you're flexible. If you can get them for 10 to 13 and you have 7 to 8 million left over to go attack free agency with the linebacker, then by all means, go do it. Go do it. But they shouldn't spend 1 cent or 1 draft pick on the offensive side of the ball. Not one. What need do you? I mean, they have no needs on the offensive side.
I would like to get another wide receiver from the Browns.
I mean, you already have Jarvis, you have Rashard Higgins, and you're going to have OBJ back, or are they? That's what we'll discuss on the other side. How about the not Kansas City, but how about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? All of a sudden, every show I turn on, it's all about putting OBJ with Tom Brady. How big of a deal is that? And how much smoke is there when it comes to that conversation? I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I know everyone thinks that they don't need OBJ. It's interesting you say that you think that they need a receiver. The reason I don't think they need a receiver, when I say that I don't think they need one, I don't think they need to go get one. I think they have one. I think that, unfortunately for OBJ, I don't believe they're better without him. I believe the offense coincidentally started clicking at the same time he went down. I don't think it had anything to do with the other. I think Baker's interceptions go up because he tries to force him the ball at times, but I don't necessarily think that means that the offense is worse with him on the field. That's a Baker thing. He needs to get better. I mean, Baker, that's a weird thing to be bad at. Oh, we're going to give you a superstar wide receiver and you can't throw him the ball. That's a weird thing to have as a fault, right, Kev?
Yeah.
Like, it's very strange. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I hold on to OBJ. I at least start the season with OBJ. He's a trade deadline move, if you ask me. Like, I think the Browns need to start the season. I think that they opened everything up offensively between the run game and the pass game clicking. I think you need to see, okay, did it open up because OBJ wasn't there? Or did it just coincidentally open up at the time that unfortunately he went down and didn't get to be a part of the offense taking off the way that it did? To me, it's a weird concept to think that as good as the Browns offense was, that you can't be good with the star wide receiver like OBJ. Because then what does that mean, Kev? That you have to fear going to get a star wide receiver at any point in his career? I think that the Browns need to keep OBJ, but I'm curious your thoughts as well as the listeners. 457-9464 or live on Facebook. Should the Browns trade OBJ? Should they trade him to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or do you agree with me? I hold on to him. I see what you have. I see what this offense looks like with OBJ. We'll discuss on the other side of the break.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Why would I sell the car of my dreams for a food truck that wasn't? Or rattle off condiment combinations in my sleep? Extra mayo, all the mustard, ketchup on the side. I mean, when did an app become my favorite tool? Nothing personal, Spatula. It's because I wanted to make the best burger ever. And QuickBooks suite of tools helped me get there.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Learn more at QuickBooks.com.
These days, it's okay to do some things halfway, like wearing your pajama bottoms on a work call. But managing your prescriptions shouldn't be one of them. That's why CVS has a proprietary search tool to find ways that may help lower your prescription costs, and will deliver them for free. No wonder CVS customers are better than most at staying on prescriptions, which tends to make you healthier. Come in or call today and get a free prescription savings review at CVS. Savings vary. Not all patients eligible for savings. Delivery restrictions apply. Visit CVS.com for details.
How much money would you like to save just by doing something you're already doing? 15 or 25%? How about 40%? With Allstate, safe drivers can save 40% just by doing something they're already doing. Driving safe. That's right, 40% just by driving safe.
See just how much you can save when you bundle. In the Springfield and surrounding area, call me, Dave Mowdy, at 325-2474, right across the street from Frisch's on East Main Street.
Savings vary based on DriveWise and other safe driving discounts. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Why would I sell the car of my dreams for a food truck that wasn't? Or rattle off condiment combinations in my sleep? Extra mayo, all the mustard, ketchup on the side. I mean, when did an app become my favorite tool? Nothing personal, Spatula. It's because I wanted to make the best burger ever. And QuickBooks suite of tools helped me get there.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Learn more at QuickBooks.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Any credit card can offer cash back, but only Discover matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. It's like getting one of those birthday cards that's shaped like cash, so you already know there's cash inside before opening it. But in this case, it's stuffed with your first year cash back match, and you don't even have to send a thank you note. Cashback match. Only by Discover Card. Learn more at discover.com/match. Discover. Something brighter.
In honor of President's Day, Dell delivers savings to help America's small businesses get more done. Office Anywhere, with up to 50% off high-performance laptops, desktops, and servers with Intel Core processors and top brand electronics. Plus, refresh now with flexible financing options. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL or visit Dell.com/President's Day.
Need legal help? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Have you heard about our new help center? It's located at the Montgomery County Courthouse, providing legal information and forms. And we also share programs and resources that may be available to you. Let us help you navigate the court system. Visit us online at courthouse2u.com for more info.
Are you ready for tax season? Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services is ready for you. If you want to come in person, it's a safe environment, or you can just drop off. Belmont Tax also provides a completely virtual, secure client portal. For business or personal, if you want the accurate deductions you deserve, contact Belmont Tax in Dayton and Eaton. Go to BelmontBCTXS.com. BelmontBCTXS.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune in to Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Ugh, nothing's worse than starting trouble. We can help you out. We can start with a free battery test. That way we'll know if your battery is causing the issue. It could be your starter or your alternator. You don't want to waste money on the wrong fix. And if you do need a new battery, we've got you covered with a wide selection of replacement batteries. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2019.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC.
1410 ESPN Radio is Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes on the hardwood. Football may be over, but basketball is just heating up. Support Chris Holtman and his Buckeyes as they battle it out in the toughest conference in all of college basketball, the Big Ten. Every dribble, every shot, every Buckeyes win. Catch it all right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. A couple things we'll get to at the top of the hour. The Cincinnati Reds have added a Hall of Famer to their TV broadcast booth. Again, Reds making, Fox Sports Ohio making a couple changes to the Reds TV broadcast booth after the fiasco that was last season with Tom Brenneman. Didn't know his mic was hot and said some very insensitive things that ultimately led to him being let go. And the Reds, who I thought had replaced him with announcing a new play-by-play voice last week, ultimately added another one, this time a former Reds player, Hall of Famer, an all-time Reds great. I can't tell you how excited I am about that. We'll get to that at the top of the hour. Plus, Kevin and I will start breaking down, or at least discussing, at what point does opting out become quitting, and at what point does that line become blurred? We'll get to that coming up around the corner. But I wanted to throw this out. Apparently right now, again, when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's looking like they're not going to, they have a lot of key free agents that they have to bring back, Kev. Like they have, they're a Super Bowl winning team. They have talent all over the place. They have to prioritize which of those guys they're going to bring back. And they, there's a lot of guys that want to come back. When you look at the fact that they added Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette and a lot of and obviously, in the offseason, and Gronkowski. But there's some of their homegrown guys like Chris Godwin, who I find interesting that and Mike Evans. Mike Evans has already come out on social media and said, hey, that he will restructure his deal however it needs to be done to make sure that they keep this group intact. He wants to win Super Bowls. And I love that. The reason I bring that up, and I don't like to bring that up and say that that's how you have to be. There's not one way to be when it comes to this. It's just some brings about more praise than others, which we'll get to coming up around the corner. I found the Mike Evans thing a little interesting. But Chris Godwin, he's young. He has yet to get that big payday, and this is going to be his opportunity, which is why many are believing that Tampa's not going to give him that payday, not because they don't think he's worth it, but because to give him that payday, they would have to not retain a lot of some of the other pieces that led them to this Super Bowl this past season. So it's looking like there's going to be a parting of ways there, which means they're going to have need at wide receiver, which is funny because they have Antonio Brown, they have Mike Evans, you have Scotty Miller, you have talent there. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's a priority that they're going to do everything they can to address? I mean, I could see an AJ Green situation brewing right there if this next scenario we discussed doesn't come to fruition, because I think Antonio Brown's going to return to form of being their number one receiver. I really do. Or it's Mike Evans. I don't really care, but one of those two. Antonio Brown's going to be elite again next year. Full off, as long as he keeps his head on straight, right? Full off season, hopefully a regular off season this year where he'll get to work out with the team and they'll have a full camp. It should be a business as close to as usual as possible for the NFL heading into the 2021 season. So I expect to return to what we had seen in years past from Antonio Brown, being with the good situation that he's in Tampa. Gronkowski's going to come back. But the one name that I keep hearing throughout the week is OBJ. That, OBJ and Tom Brady, that they've always wanted to play together, that if the Browns went to OBJ and said, if we worked out a deal to Tampa, would you accept it? Everyone feels that would be a win-win for both. Now, what the Browns would get in return, I have no clue. What is OBJ's value to you right now?
Ooh, man. Coming off an injury, I'll say nothing more than a second round pick. At the highest, the second round pick, lowest, third round pick.
Which to me, I don't care about those picks. And you can't ask for a first for him. And I don't know what else the Bucs would send in return for him, but I think that the Bucs, I think the Browns have the leverage in that situation. I don't think they need to get rid of OBJ. OBJ is not going to bring back a haul. So it's not like, it's not one of those things where the Browns are being irresponsible by just sitting on OBJ and not getting a haul for him. You're not going to get a haul for him. You're just not. I don't think that the demand is there. I think the interest is there, but there's a difference between interest and demand, and I don't think that the demand is there. I still think OBJ is one of the most elite receivers in football when he's healthy. In fact, he had a great season for the Browns when he was healthy. I mean, the offense wasn't clicking, right, to start the season. Remember that? But the one constant was they were still putting up 30 points a game. And when you watch the Browns, you never felt that they were playing that well. But you look up, and for the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, Kev, they were averaging 30 points a game, and he was one of the main reasons why. Although the offense didn't look comfortable, the pass game didn't look comfortable, but he was getting his, and he was making plays outside of just, catching the ball and making plays in the open field. They were running a lot of reverses and getting him involved that way. I like OBJ, and I don't think that the Browns took off because he was absent. I really don't. I think that it took 8 weeks for that offense to truly get going. I think that they truly needed that time to come together. And I think that the offense took off, not because he was gone, but because they needed that time to really click, to really gel. You had, your tight ends that you had to get to implement it into the offense in Hooper. You were still trying to get, Higgins and Landry and those guys back on the same page and OBJ back on the field. You were trying to rid a lot of the chaotic issues that they had offensively the year before with Freddie Kitchens. You had a new system. They looked more comfortable at halfway point through the season and moving forward, and we're getting better each week. So my point is you already have OBJ. So when you talk about, maybe the Browns can go out and add a wide receiver, I feel like you already have that new addition because the Browns were a new team in the second half of the year. They were 5-3 at the halfway point, and they were 6-2 in the second half of the season. So to me, I don't think it's that they were better without OBJ. I just think they naturally got better through the scheme of the offense and being more comfortable running the offense. So, Kev, I don't think they need to spend money on a wide receiver. I think you have Donovan Peoples-Jones. You have enough of the younger guys that you can have on the rotations. I think OBJ returning is going to be that new element added to the offense that they didn't have this year, although they did have for the first half. But the real Browns team appeared in that second half of the season. And adding OBJ to that Browns team from the second half of the season in what will start next year with a much improved defense, I think that OBJ needs to stay in Cleveland. I don't move him. I don't think a second or a third rounder is that important to justify moving him right now. I think you need to see what you have. If you start out slow offensively and he's the reason, trade him week 2 if you have to. I just don't think you need to trade him right now. I really don't. I definitely don't want to help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I help them. They need him. They really, really need him. The Browns have proven we don't need him, but if we find a way to make it work, we're only going to get even better. So I have no problem. The Browns need to keep him. I don't think you need to trade him.
The biggest thing about OBJ last year is he bought in. He bought into the system that the Browns were running on offense, heavy running, especially early in the season when he was still playing before he got hurt and everything like that. And when he did get the ball in his hands, he made impact plays. He only had one bad game. He had a bad game against the Steelers in that first matchup, but every Browns player had a bad game in that first matchup.
No kidding. Both sides of the ball.
So I'm not going to hold that over him, even though I'm not like the biggest OBJ fan. But last year, he only had one drop. Granted, his season was cut short, but there was no question who was the most dominant player on the football field when they went up against the Dallas Cowboys. They got him the ball every which way they could, ins and arounds, deep passes, crossing routes. I believe he even fielded a punt in that game. So they were finding ways to put the ball in his hands. Obviously, him coming off a pretty big injury, we're expecting him to be back at 100%. You got to think, if you're a Browns fan, why wouldn't we want to add this toy to what we already got? We already got him under contract. Why not see what we have to do to see if we can make our offense more explosive? That was the thing that everybody was talking about with the Browns. Like, well, Landry, he's not a deep down field receiver and everything like that. And Donovan Peoples-Jones tried to become that. Hollywood Higgins is not a deep threat, but OBJ is a deep threat. So if you add him back to the mix, I think it's a good play. Now, I will say, if they do trade him to Tampa Bay and they're able to get a 3rd round pick out of it, I think that's a good deal, though. Like, there's tons of guys that are not only NFL starters, but impact players that you pick up in the 3rd round. So if they're able to fleece them and get a 2nd round pick, imagine what they could get. Imagine who they could get. Imagine what linebacker at LSU they could have on their team next season. You know what I'm saying? So one way or the other, I think the Browns will be fine next year with or without OBJ. I've always been a person that says that Baker played better without OBJ just because he played more relaxed. And you talked about it, that's something that Baker has to work on. Well, one way to work on it is not have him on the team. You ain't got to work about it. He ain't on the team no more. So that's something the Browns got to think about, man. But I'm with you, man. Just the hater in me don't want OBJ hooking up with the GOAT Tom Brady. Like, he already got a Hall of Famer and AB on his team. He already got Mike Evans talking about he's going to take less money to help people come back to the team. Like, I don't want to see that.
Here's a move I think is realistic. Here's a move I think could be realistic and something to consider if you're the Cleveland Browns. The one thing you need is a linebacker. And if I'm looking at the NFL draft, there's a certain name named Micah Parsons that I'm a huge fan of. What do the Browns need to do to potentially move up to get that done? You know what I mean? Like, what do they need to do to move up high enough to potentially land Micah Parsons? And I'm starting to look at this, and there's some teams that are popping out to me that really could use a dynamic playmaker for a team that's ready to strike now in a division that's weak. The NFC East, you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they're not set. They don't even know who their quarterback is yet. We know who it should be. They're not confident that he's the guy. He most likely will be the guy next year. Just, again, there's going to be a lot of mess between now and then as far as how they get there. But I'm beginning to look around at this, and I'm like, David Njoku, the Cleveland Browns can move on from. They can move off of OBJ at the same time, and they can use a second-round pick to move up with the Giants at number 11. If I'm the Cleveland Browns, I include OBJ, I include Njoku, and I include, or maybe it's OBJ and the Browns' first-round pick and the 28th overall pick to move up to number 11 to grab Micah Parsons. Look at the New York Giants. You have Daniel Jones, you have Saquon Barkley. They need a tight end. That's where Njoku comes in, and you need a dynamic wide receiver, and that's where OBJ comes in. And it's New York. That's where he thrives. It's not like it didn't work in New York with him last time because he wasn't good enough. It's because the team didn't need a dynamic star receiver because they were heading in a rebuild, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they're not rebuilding anymore. They're trying to find the tools now to take that next step. Philly is a disaster. All right, the Cowboys are a mess. Washington has a great defense, and they think they have their quarterback and that they're going to give a shot to. But, Kev, I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of moving on from OBJ, but I'd be willing to do it if it guaranteed you to get something that you desperately need in return, and that's linebacker, Micah Parsons. If I'm the Browns, I'm on the phone with the Giants. Hey, if Micah Parsons gets to number 8 and they haven't been selected, here's what we're offering. You could have our number 28 pick. You can have OBJ, boom, and Njoku, or OBJ and Njoku, or whatever. There's these 3 things available. Our first-round pick, Njoku and OBJ, pick 2 of the 3. They are yours. We want Micah Parsons. And I think that's a fair trade, right?
That's not bad. That's not bad. See, you've been thinking.
The Giants become instantly improved because now you've provided your young quarterback in Daniel Jones, who already has Saquon Barkley when healthy. All right, you have him, and now you give him OBJ and Njoku, or you give him OBJ and you get a late first round pick. I'm just saying, I think that you get it done. Micah Parsons is legit. I would love him in Cleveland. I think that would be fantastic, and that's what the Browns desperately need. You could spend money in free agency to go get one, or you can go draft one, an elite guy like Micah, and have a guy for 4 years on a rookie deal, and that's what the Browns need right now desperately. Thoughts?
That's not a bad idea. That's not bad. Like I said, you had your thinking cap on all day long. You've been dying to say that, haven't you?
No, actually, I'm not joking. That literally just came to me as I'm sitting here. I'm like, well, what would be worth trading him for? Not just picks isn't worth it to me right now because the Browns are in win now mode. What can you do now to win now? Micah Parsons, that's a huge addition. That's a huge addition. We saw how big a deal Bush was when you added him to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Cleveland needs that same type of impact player. I think Parsons can definitely be that.
That's the thing about trades. People always have all these trade scenarios in their mind, like, oh, we'll give them this guy for that guy, and then we move up to the number 5 pick and we get who we want. Well, it takes 2 teams to make a trade. One team isn't just going to give you everything and then they get nothing in return unless you're the Lakers trading away Kwame Brown for Paul Gasol. But, it takes 2 to tango in a trade. And I think that, that's fair. Maybe you should call up the Browns, tell them you want to intern. Some ideas.
All right. A couple Facebook reads, and then we'll head to hour 2. We're in hour 2, but we'll head to hour 2. Jake Overholtz on Facebook says, in my opinion, I would trade OBJ. I don't think they need a wide receiver that Baker feels obligated to get the ball to. They played a lot better when Baker didn't have to force the ball to someone. Do you know how much money the Browns would save by trading OBJ? That would open some things up, which is why I think that OBJ, I'm back and forth on this. I think that I don't move OB. If you're moving OBJ because you think, Baker can't play with him, that's a problem, and that's concerning. Because now the Browns have to be concerned about going to get any elite wide receiver in the near future because, we have a quarterback that can't throw to a star wide receiver. Like, we need to stop it, and I'm a big Baker supporter, but we need to stop blaming OBJ for this because this isn't an OBJ problem. OBJ is not doing anything differently than what Antonio Brown or any other star receiver in football is doing, Kev. They're demanding the ball. That's what they do. So if Baker can't figure out how to get him the ball effectively, that's a Baker problem. So that's why I don't move OBJ for that very reason right there, just because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Baker could share the ball, but to me, that's concerning about Baker Mayfield. That, okay, we'll move on from OBJ because you seem to not play well with him now. But so does that mean we can't go get any elite wide receiver moving forward? I mean, can you only play with Jarvis Landry and Higgins and these guys? I mean, we can't go get any star wide receiver? That would concern me if I'm the Browns and Baker Mayfield. Like, he needs to figure out how to play with OBJ. Now, the Browns have other needs as well. And that's why if you could take OBJ and fill some holes, not just draft picks, but fill some holes, I'm okay with that. But you don't just move them for that. I also don't think that's why the Browns played better. I don't think Baker and the Browns offense opened up because OBJ went out injured. I just truly think it needed that much time for the offense to open up in a new system. Brad on Facebook says, now I disagree with Kevin. The lack of a legitimate deep threat down the stretch hurt the Browns. A healthy OBJ alone and this team wins at least 2 more games. And a third round straight up for Odell would be as bad as the Hopkins trade. So, I just don't think a third is, you keep OBJ. I don't think a third is enough. I think OBJ is too talented. He's too, just because he may not be, because you can't figure him out, it doesn't mean that he's not talented. That just means that you have a chip that you're giving it away because you assume, we don't need him, we'll just give him away. He's going to go be a star for somebody, and then you're going to look stupid only getting a third round pick for him. That's why I'm like, package him, go get that Micah Parsons pick. That's what I'd be, Overholt says, but he's not even close to a level of a wide receiver, not close. What are you talking about? But he's not even close to the level of a wide receiver, not close. What?
Oh, I think he's saying Micah Parsons isn't. That's what I would be assuming.
The Browns aren't a wide receiver away from being Super Bowl contenders. They're a linebacker away from being Super Bowl contenders. I think they need a linebacker more than anything else at this point. We'll be back in a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
O'Reilly. It's O-Rewards Bonus Points Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts, which means you'll save money and reach your next reward even faster. Earn double O-Rewards points on 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil, just $28.95, and get a $10 gift card after mail-in rebate. Collect 150 points and get a $5 reward. Don't miss O-Rewards Bonus Points Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's time for some straight talk. Your tax return could look different this year, but you're still going to hear a lot of noise about how to spend it. So when the big carriers tell you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get the $45 unlimited talk, text, and data plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense and tune into Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting. We are excited to announce we are open and here to help with your tax preparation needs. We offer multiple options, both convenient and safe. You can drop off your tax return, upload it to our secure website, or call for an appointment. We have 5 locations in the Miami Valley and 1 in Columbus to serve you. No matter the situation, we're confident we can do the job right. Visit Laird'sTax.com or call 937-325-6571. Laird's Tax and Accounting, here for you to ensure continued confidence in your tax return.
Procter & Gamble, the company behind some of your favorite brands like Tide and Charmin and Pampers, is now hiring entry-level technicians at the Dayton Distribution Center. P&G is offering a competitive pay rate of $16.44 per hour for 8 and 12-hour rotating shifts, plus an additional per-hour rotating shift incentive. P&G offers a comprehensive benefit package on day 1, including medical, dental, and 401k. For more information, visit pgcareers.com. Search for Dayton and apply today. Procter & Gamble is an equal opportunity employer.
The law offices of Lake Maceland will fight for you. Call 444-4444. Want more fight? More attention? More compensation? We've recovered millions in auto and injury cases. We don't know what your case is worth until you call. One more call, 444. Blake Mason.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app anytime, anywhere. Listen to more than 300 stations along with more than 3,000 podcasts from your home area or across the U.S., all free.
With the radio.com app.
Let Audible make 2021 a year filled with the best in audio entertainment. Audible originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more. Start a free trial at audible.com.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
All right, everybody, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Tuesday. Live on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The Dayton Flyers going to be in action coming up later on tonight, 7 o'clock. But immediately following our show at 6 o'clock, we'll hand it off to Sully for the Talking Out Loud Dayton Flyers pregame show. He'll walk you right up to tip-off at 7 o'clock. And again, he does the show live, of course, on the air, on Facebook, on Twitter, and then live at Timothy's Bar and Grill. It's a virtual show, but they literally have all the monitors out. They have the big drop screen down, and the show pops up live there at Timothy's Bar and Grill. It's a really cool setup that they have over there, and we appreciate the partnership with them. Again, it's the Talking Out Loud Dayton Flyers men's basketball pregame show, hosted by Sully, presented by Timothy's Bar and Grill, coming up immediately following the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash at 6 o'clock. Speaking of college basketball, and we're going to get into the Dayton Flyers coming up here more so in just a moment. Again, Anthony Grant and the Dayton Flyers on the recruiting trail just continue to knock it out of the park. I know that's a baseball reference talking basketball, but they add another huge name. We got a huge commitment from over the weekend that we will discuss coming up here around the corner. But man, the talent they have coming in, when that all gels together and comes together, it's going to be exciting here in the next couple seasons. So we'll talk more about that around the corner. But I do want to talk college basketball. I want to get into this story that features the Duke Blue Devils and freshman Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson, I'm not going to lie and pretend that I know a ton about Jalen Johnson. He averaged about 11.5 points a game, 6 rebounds. I mean, he's your typical one and done caliber player. I'm tired of hearing. I saw somebody just write on the wall. I'm so ready for the one and done era to be done in college basketball. The one and done era is going nowhere. I just think that there's so many drastic levels of college basketball at the Division I level. You have your mid-majors, which you get to enjoy your stars for 3 to 4 years, right? You get to enjoy them. And that's what I love about mid-major basketball. I love senior day in mid-major basketball because the speeches that the coaches and the players give, they're heartfelt because they've been connected to that specific university for 3 or 4 years. They grew up there. You watch these kids, you watch these boys come out of high school and leave men like they're there for 4 years. I don't know how. And, I like Duke, by the way. When you and I first started, working together, I always razzed you because you're a Syracuse fan. I always wore all my Duke stuff. I like Duke. I'm not a diehard Duke fan, but I like Duke. Now, I'll never understand how Zion Williamson, how is he looked at by the Duke faithful? Mm-hmm. 10 years from now, Zion, man, my heart's with Zion. I can't wait. How do you connect with Zion for 1 year? I don't think you can. I mean, Obi, I'm not saying you don't support him or that you don't care about him, but I don't get how you truly connect with him. I love our level of basketball that we have in this city. I love, even Obi Toppin, you still got 2 years of him, 3 if you count the year he sat out, right? But you got to watch him come in as this skinny, scrawny kid that you looked at and said, who the hell's that guy? You didn't even pay attention. That guy goes down as probably the best player ever, right? At the program. It's unbelievable, the growth from that player in a 3-year span. But you felt like you were a part of his journey. You felt like you were a part of his path to the NBA because he was here for 3 years. Sure, he sat out 1 year, but you watched him for 2 years. You watched him in his first year. You watched him struggle at certain things. You watched him go get the NBA evaluation grade, and they told him what he needed to work on. And then the next year, not only did he work on those things, he mastered those damn things, and he took off to the next level, and the team took off to the next level because of it. But the fans, the Dayton Flyer fan base, felt connected. They felt a part of it. And that's why I will always love this area's college basketball. Hell, even at Ohio State, they're not your one-and-done caliber school. I'm not saying it's not been done, and it is done. They're going to have their one-and-done caliber guys here and there. But overall, Chris Holtmann is landing guys that you're going to build around for 3 or 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. That's what makes that team fun. You get to watch Liddell and these guys come in, and you get to watch them grow with the program. That's my favorite kind of basketball. I'm not saying that the other kind is wrong. Just for me as a fan, I want to feel that emotional connection between me and the player. I think that's one reason, Kev, that college football just totally kicks college basketball's ass. I've talked about it before. The reason college football totally trumps anything that college basketball does is because Clemson fans got to watch Trevor Lawrence come in as a freshman, win a national championship, and know that they got to, watch him for 2 more years. You got to be a part of his journey. Clemson fans got to watch him come in as a 18-year-old kid and leave a 21, 22-year-old man and head into the NFL. Clemson fans felt a part of his journey. Ohio State, same thing with the Bosas and with the Bosas and with the Justin Fields and so on and so on. Even JT Barrett, the only guy that was in college longer than me. You felt a part of his journey, right? It started with the inaugural college football playoff national championship that he didn't technically win, but he was the quarterback that year that took over as a freshman, that took over for Braxton Miller, and you had no clue what the end of the season was going to be. It was unbelievable. His story was unbelievable, but you felt connected to him. Right. I just don't get how you connect to these one-and-done players. And there's nothing wrong with it. Their end goal is different than what the team's end goal is. Right. And here's where the overlap of the conflict of interest occurs, Kev. And this is where me and you kind of, I think, are on 2 different sides on this, but I think that this is not a problem in sports that needs to be addressed. It's just the realities of sports right now. There are guys like Jalen Johnson who are only in college for 1 year because they have to be. Yep. And to sit there and say, well, if I'm Coach Krzyzewski, if I'm John Calipari, if I'm Roy Williams, I don't take these kids because they are more of a distraction and a hiccup in the growth of your program than anything else. Well, guess what? If you don't take them, someone else will. And then you'll lose to that team that has that kid. You have to take these kids, right? You can't just not take them. And when you do take them, I think there's a conflict of interest there because, Kev, from the time that guys like Jalen Johnson step foot on the court at Duke, they are there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to get them to the NBA. I don't think that they are there to grow with the team. They don't care about player development for their teammates around them. And now it sounds like I'm ripping them. I'm not. It's just that's the reality of it. We, from the time we're little, Kev, are preached to about the importance of teamwork, the importance of putting, we before I. Don't put yourself before the team. Everything is about the team. But then But then you get to college and you did everything right? Like you were always, I put the team before myself. I worked hard. I worked hard for the guy next to me, to my right and to the left, in front of me, behind me. I worked my ass off to help me, to help them, to help us as a team win. But then you get to college and the guy next to you that you're playing your ass off for is Jalen Johnson, who is not necessarily there playing for you. He's there playing for him. He's there because of the brand on the Duke jersey. He's there because Coach K is one of the most legendary figures in the history of college basketball. And he knows that, hey, I'm talented enough to get to the NBA, but the rub and what I'm going to learn from Coach K in 1 year is going to be so monumental in my growth as a player in the league. Of course I'm going to go there. But here's the problem. When you're Coach K, you got to where you were because you built teams. You built teamwork. You built, you put the team before you. That's how you become a successful coach. That's how you win in sports. So Jalen Johnson opts out. 3 weeks left. Duke is not playing well. They're not dancing in March. They're not a good basketball team right now. I think I saw 16 seed or something crazy like that. I mean, no, they're not even that. No, they're not dancing
at all.
And he opts out. And I'm ticked at this. I'm like, you quit. You're quitting. You are quitting on your team because you went there and you're like, well, we're not going to win anyway, so screw it. I'm just going to go focus on my NBA career. And I have a problem with that. How do you as Coach K okay that? How do you as a teammate sit there and say, oh, that's cool, no problem? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I know if I was a teammate of that, I wouldn't support it. I'd be like, well, I want you to succeed. Don't get me wrong, but no offense, but I'm here for the guy next to me and in front of me, behind me, and you. I'm here for you too, but you're not here for me. I can't support that. It is trained. We are trained from the time we're a little kid when you get involved in sports that it's all about the team. And that you want me to praise guys that it's not about the team. I'm not saying I want the kid to fail, but you can't finish 3 damn weeks. You didn't get COVID and opt out because you got COVID. You just, what? Jay Williams said this morning on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin that he missed some time due to injury, came back, and there was a rift right away between him and Coach K because Coach K had a certain group of guys that he was giving heavy minutes to because they're setting up for the long term, right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to get the minutes that he wanted. Coach K said, we're going to give you about 10 to 15 minutes. That's your allotted time to do you. All right, we're going to do everybody. We're going to do our player development. We're going to get our guys minutes. We're going to work on getting better. And then I'm going to give you your guaranteed time. But I can't take minutes away from these guys who are coming back next year who are going to be a part of it. And he threw a fit. There was behind-the-scenes issues. I can't believe that Jay actually opened up about this as much as he did this morning. And that's what led to the parting of ways on both sides. Quitting is an aggressive word. I get that. It carries a lot of weight. But ultimately, that's what this is. Because if I was on that team and said, Coach, what are we even playing for? Why are we even practicing? What do you mean we're going to run? Why are we practicing right now? We're not even going to make the tournament. You want me to work hard so we could be ready for the NIT? Nah, man, I'm going to go home. I'm good. See ya. I'll see you guys next. I'll see you when the offseason starts. I would be labeled a quitter. That's basically what he's doing. And you could dress it up all you want and say, I'm preparing for my next endeavor being the NBA and I got to protect myself. That's fine. You know what I could also support? Look, we're not making the NCAA tournament. I'm not going to play the rest of the season, but I'm going to be on the bench. I'm going to be supporting my guys. Cool. You won't hear a peep from me. But just totally leaving the program altogether, I'm being consistent here. I didn't like it. I got ripped. Remember, I was told someone told me they were going to end me because I was critical of Nick Bosa when he did the same thing. And then Nick Bosa was at least around 3 years. Nick Bosa had a season-ending injury. Nick Bosa was very similar to this, but at the same time, Nick Bosa had kind of earned a little bit of that respect from the team to where that's why you didn't hear anyone come out against him as much because he kind of earned the respect of the team. What has this kid done? He's there for a couple months. I can't support it. To me, it's quitting.
It's a couple things. One, we saw this coming. Everybody, especially you and I that follow sports as much as we do, saw this coming because we saw it happening in college football this past season. We saw so many guys from the LSU team opting out. Jamar Chase comes to the top of mind. He won the Biletnikoff the year that they won the national championship. He opted out. Linebackers from that team opted out. Defensive linemen, offensive linemen, dudes opting out left and right. Yep. We saw guys, one of our favorite players, Micah Parsons, he opted out. Rondale Moore, he opted out, then opted back in. So we knew this was going to happen. And anybody who didn't think this was going to happen in college basketball, you're fooling yourself. Not only did that happen, or we believe this was going to happen, It happened. It rolled out that way. But this is what happens when people have options. When people have options, they can do things like this. I'm not saying it's right. If I'm fortunate enough to ever have children, and matter of fact, I'm going to tell my nephew this: you don't quit during the middle of the season. Like, I played high school football. I didn't play my junior year, but I finished my sophomore year. I had every rational thought on my mind. I ain't playing no more, man. For what? So finished out the season. I didn't play anymore. So yes, I believe that he should have finished out the season or did something like you said, all right, I ain't playing no more, man. I got to get ready for the league, but I'm going to still just be around because I don't want to quit on my guys. You have different cases like Darius Baisley, who was committed to Syracuse. Didn't go to Syracuse, opted to take an internship at New Balance. You got guys like Jalen Green, who's playing right now in the G League. You got Kenyon Martin Jr. playing overseas and everything like that. There's tons of avenues for these elite high school basketball players to take advantage of. And that's what I'm talking about with options. So when you have options, you do things like this. And do I believe that this kid is a bad kid? I don't know if he's a bad kid. I don't think he's a bad kid. I mean, he went to Duke, for goodness sakes. Aren't they like the creme de la creme of finding all these great A1 kids? So I just think it's a serious conflict of interest wherein you have guys who have one eye on the NBA, but they have to come to the college basketball world. Like, we saw this with Ben Simmons. Like, he had to be play college basketball. Like, they force you to do this. So I don't have any problem with them having a one and done or anything like that. I just think this is another thing that these coaches have to vet. This is something that they have to deal with, and they're going to figure a way around it, because this is not going to be the first guy. He's not the first guy. He's definitely not going to be the last guy to opt out of the situation. For me, man, I do view it as quitting, and I didn't view the Nick Bosa situation as quitting.
Joey didn't quit. Nick did.
You're right. The word quitting has this connotation on it, but you know why it doesn't really matter? Because Christian McCaffrey, he opted out of his bowl game, still win the first round, and just signed a big contract this past season. So many guys opt out. The place that they're headed, they don't care. The NBA don't care.
No.
The NFL don't care. The NFL don't care if you flunked out of school. Can you catch the ball? Can you block? Can you cover this guy? Oh, you can? Excellent. We'll draft you. So the correlation between where these kids are going or trying to go and where they are don't line up, because there's plenty of cases where, you know, guys like, a player that I love when his time during his Syracuse, Deion Waiters, never started a game at Syracuse, still averaged 15 points a game, but didn't start a game. Didn't matter to NBA because he could put the ball in the hole. Like, people try to correlate everything that you do in college to what you're going to do in the pros. All right, the NBA scouts aren't calling this dude a quitter. They're like, all right, let's check out his jump shot. Let's check out how he plays.
They're happy he's ending his career without an injury.
Yeah.
You know, when Zion, you know how many scouts were bummed that Zion chose to come back?
Absolutely. So yeah. I get you. I can't disagree with you. I feel where you're coming from with the whole quitting thing. I don't like the way it looks. And furthermore, like, I think it sets a bad example for other kids, like at the high school level, because what happens when they don't get their way at the high school level, when they're not even as talented as him, they don't have as many options as he does. You know, then you put them in a bad light, and then you put them in a situation because they think you're going to be like Jalen Johnson. You're not Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's going to be a first round pick. You're a 6'1" center in high school. You ain't going to the league. So I think I'm not necessarily looking at him as the bad case. I'm looking at, like, all right, man, this is going to have a trickle down effect on other kids who think that they're as talented as he is, and then start making a fit about their lack of playing time, or I'm opting out. You opting out? Opting out where? So, like, I didn't like it at all. I think it stinks. It's too bad, not only for Duke in their program, but it's too bad for him, because you know what? You know what's going to happen when you get to the NBA? You're going to be hit with a lot of challenges when you get to the NBA. Everybody thinks going to the NBA and playing professional sports is sweet. Oh, man, they make a ton of money. They have great vacations, all this thing. It takes a lot of hard work to make it in these professional leagues.
Look how stressed out, a player I feel horrible for in the NBA, Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's not getting minutes in the NBA right now, and it's not because the dude can't play.
Right.
The dude's very efficient in the 10 minutes that Coach Tibbs allows him to get with the Knicks. And if you're just tuning in again, but you know how frustrating that has to be?
Right.
He literally was the face of college basketball all last season, and you really picked up steam the season before. Had all that momentum. You're drafted by the Knicks, and you think, man, the sky's the limit, and you're literally getting 10 minutes of playing time, which, but that dude, in typical Obi fashion, smiling every time he's on the floor. You never see him throwing a fit on the sideline. Like, he's just a good dude. He has the right, to maybe throw a fit, and he's not. Like, Obi's just a good dude. But you're right, like, there's so many frustrations. So what happens if this kid gets drafted somewhere? Let's say the Knicks grab him, and Tibbs pulls with him when he's pulling with Obi, and you're only going to play 10 minutes every game, no matter what. 10-minute cap, I don't like playing rookies, boom. What are you going to do? Oh, man, get me out of here. I don't want to play for that team. Again, you talked about the choices earlier. I'm with you 100%. We all have choices, but the choices that we make are going to have consequences one way or another. And I think that's what this comes down to. Vincent Waller on Facebook says, whether Coach K and his teammates support it or not, it really doesn't matter. It's not their decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. It was Johnson's decision to make. I'm not saying that Coach K should have told him no. If anything, like, coaches aren't going, more times than not, coaches and every Division I coach that I've talked to, and I'm not trying to sound like, I talked to many, but every Division I coach I've talked to, when players come to them about transferring, I always say, how awkward is that conversation? They're like, it's not. Every coach I've spoken to at the D1 level has said, when a player comes to me about transferring, cool. If you need something, let me know. What is it you didn't like? Is there something we can do? No, they're not going to beg you. They are not going to beg you to stay. Coach K, of course, wasn't going to force this kid to play. He wasn't going to make the kid stay. Coach K said, here's the minutes you're going to get. Oh, you don't like it? Okay, you want to be done? That's fine. And Coach K wasn't going to trash the kid on the way out, and I don't want him to. Right. I don't want this kid to have that. But this kid, you're right, Vincent, and you talked about the decisions. You have the right to make the decision. But just like you are, I have the choice to come into work today or not. If I don't come into work and I don't, do a no-call, no-show, the listeners win. But
I say options.
What I say,
choices. I think it is the different word between options and choices. He has options because he can go train now and hire agent and start making money and yada, 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 all that type of stuff. But I think that Coach K, believe it or not, I think he's happy about this situation because from everything that Jay Will was talking about, it seems like there was a rift, a big time rift between guys that were going to continue to be Duke student athletes for years to come and his one and done.
These guys don't know how to lose, man.
And so with Coach K, like, all right, I'm not trying to call this kid a cancer in the locker room, but like, all right, we got this distraction out of the locker room. So now we can focus on the remainder of our season with guys that are invested and that are going to be here next year. So we can, who knows what happens the rest of the season, make a NCAA run, make an NIT run, but gearing us up for next year. We don't have that distraction. I'm 100% sure Coach K is cool with this. And Coach K is a class act. He's not going to bash the kid on his way out. He'll say all the right things like, Jalen had options. He felt like it was the best decision for him and we support him. Go Duke, come to my school, all that good stuff. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it reminds me a couple years ago when Anthony Grant had taken over the program, his first couple years, there were bumps along the way. There was some stuff that we were hearing, and I'm not going to go into detail, but there was a lot of attitudes behind the scenes. There was a lot of players who were walking off in the middle of practice, who were not practicing hard, who were not accepting coaching the right way, who were not buying into Anthony Grant's vision of the program. And that's the one thing about the UD program is the passion that every student out there, we're going to talk about the recruits, that the upcoming recruiting class. It's unbelievable. Every one of them have bought into his vision before they even stepped foot on that basketball floor for them. There were some guys that didn't buy into that vision and weren't practicing hard, but Anthony Grant never once went to the media and said, oh yeah, this dude didn't practice hard. Right. He didn't, run off the floor. He ran off the floor. He walked off the floor. So we kicked him off the team. You never heard any of that. And, but coaches fall on the sword. Coaches get blamed. Man, they didn't respond to coaching. They weren't playing hard. He must, they must not buy into him. No, they're getting rid of the people that don't buy into them. And if that weakens the team and they lose games because of it, so be it. They're going to reset the culture to make sure that the people are there are the right ones. Anthony Grant had to do that a few years ago. I'm not going to throw out names of the players, but there was 2 or 3 good players that there was a lot of expectations for that just didn't buy in, and off they went. It wasn't that big a deal. So same thing here. Anthony Grant didn't drag their name through the mud, and Coach K wasn't going to drag this kid's name through the mud, because overall, you know why as a coach you can't drag kids' name through the mud? Because future recruits are going to see, oh man, he seems like a jerk. He's trying to ruin that kid's career. I don't want to go play for him. So it's all the politics of it all as well.
Yeah, like I said, man, this situation is crazy because now that you can come straight out of high school and go to the G League,
do it. I hope kids do it.
I would highly recommend that guys that don't have any interest in being in college to do that. But what do you think that some of this is? Obviously, they're not winning games like the Duke clip that we all expected them to be winning at. But what do you account some of that to being a COVID year? Like,
I don't buy into that, and here's why. Like Jay Williams, I was very surprised by his take on that. So if you're just tuning in, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here. In fact, we're going to use this as a reset. We're going to step away for a few minutes. Kev just asked the question, there are a lot of top premier programs of college basketball struggling this year. What is the reason? Is it COVID? We had former Duke Blue Devil Jay Williams on the show just 2 weeks ago, and you had asked him that same question about, some fan bases are just saying, it's a throw-in year if their program's not playing well. But I was surprised that he went with that. He said that, COVID is why these teams aren't playing well, and I just don't get it. You can't say that COVID's why certain teams aren't playing well. But then when the teams, that's devaluing what the teams who are playing well are doing. And I don't like that. But let's discuss that on the other side. No, Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky. I mean, all these premier programs are all down this year. A good chunk of Blue Bloods will not be dancing here in a few weeks come March. And I don't think it's because of COVID. I just think that talent is being dispersed more evenly throughout college basketball. We'll discuss more on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 20. Tonight's also going to be mostly cloudy, a low around 2. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 23. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/hire. That's ZipRecruiter.com/hire.
Why would I sell the car of my dreams for a food truck that wasn't? Or rattle off condiment combinations in my sleep? Extra mayo, all the mustard, ketchup on the side. I mean, when did an app become my favorite tool? Nothing personal, Spatula. It's because I wanted to make the best burger ever. And QuickBooks suite of tools helped me get there.
Intuit QuickBooks helps small businesses be more successful. Learn more at QuickBooks.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
This Black History Month, we should do more than retell the stories of notable Americans and their contributions to our country. We should pledge to finally fulfill the American promise, so all children have the same opportunities to succeed, no matter what they look like or where they're from. As we celebrate Black history, let's make a future worth celebrating for all of us.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Any credit card can offer cash back, but only Discover matches all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year. It's like getting one of those birthday cards that's shaped like cash, so you already know there's cash inside before opening it. But in this case, it's stuffed with your first year cash back match, and you don't even have to send a thank you note. Cashback Match. Only by Discover Card. Learn more at discover.com/match. Discover. Something brighter.
I'm Joel, co-founder of the company behind Superbeats. I'm excited to share with you our newest product, Superbeats Heart Chews, which includes clinically researched grapeseed extract, shown to be 2 times as effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone.
Get a free 30-day supply of Superbeats Chews, plus a free 30-day supply of Super Grapes with your first purchase when you shop at getsuperbeats.com/sky. That's getsuperbeats.com/sky.
Let Audible make 2021 a year filled with the best in audio entertainment. Audible originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more. Start a free trial at audible.com.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We're getting closer and closer, by the way, to Reds baseball. February 28th, the Cincinnati Reds, you will be able to hear them live here on the radio for their first spring training game against the Cleveland baseball team. February 28th, that's their first spring training game. Originally, it was scheduled for the 27th, but you know what? The one thing this last year has taught us is we just got to be patient, and waiting is part of the game, and you just got to wait one more day now, and that's it. And, it's easy to be negative heading into a season, but, we shouldn't be. We should save our negativity for the end of April, folks. Let's have some positivity heading into the season. I still can't believe every season record predictor, generator, whatever you want to call it. I'm totally butchering that, Kev, but every little sports outlet that's predicting the records for the teams heading in, the projection, there we go, the projected win-loss records for the teams, every one of them has the Reds finishing in 4th place in the NL Central. And I just don't get it.
We're waiting on the Kenner prediction. That's what we're waiting on.
I'm not a fan of David Bell's managerial style. I like David Bell, but I'm not a fan of his managerial style. I'm not they don't have Trevor Bauer, but man, come on. This team is not as bad. Where my anger and frustration comes from is because I think this team was a move or two away from being really, really good. But I don't think they're really, really bad. The way everyone putting them down in the basement with the Pirates. Are you kidding? Now, this is a good baseball team, folks. I don't get why. Just because they didn't do anything this offseason doesn't necessarily mean that they're back to being, bottom of the cellar, team. That's not what this is. Folks need to really do a better job of being positive heading into this season. I always say this: let them disappoint you. Don't go in disappointed. Let them disappoint you. That's what I tell every girl I dated up until I met my fiance. Don't head into this thing disappointed. Just let me disappoint you. How about that? So there you go. You asked a question before the break, but why is Kansas and Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky and all these programs struggling during this? And we had Jay Williams on the show a few weeks ago, Kev, and I was surprised when he actually told us that he believes that COVID, is these teams are all out of their comfort zone. These teams are not used to the surroundings of what's going on in our world right now, and that's what's leading to these teams struggling. And I'm like, no, because the teams that are winning are also experiencing those same things. They're also experiencing not being able to hang out with their friends, not being able to see their family, not being able to play in front of fans, having to be tested on a daily basis, having the stress of every time I test that, is this going to come back positive and I'm the reason why our team has to shut things down for 2 weeks? Trust me, the teams that are winning are going through those same things. It's not the teams that are winning, they have the advantage because they get to hang out with their friends. They get to see their family. They don't have to social distance. They don't have to test. They don't miss games. They have fans at their games. I don't want to hear any of that because every struggle that these teams are going through are the same struggles that even the winning teams are going through. I don't know why we can't just say, oh, yeah, they're just not that good. But I do find it very odd that it's rare for any of those programs to have a down year, but to have all of them be down at the same time. I haven't even mentioned Michigan State's name yet. Michigan State and Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky, to have all these programs struggling at the same time, that's strange to me. I don't think it's COVID, though. I'm not saying that, some of those things have led to maybe a lack of development here and there, but why can teams like Wright State continue playing through this and not miss a beat, Kev, but Michigan State can't? And I'm bringing that up, not saying that this program is better than that program. I'm bringing it up saying that if a Horizon League mid-major school can battle through this and play really good basketball, then I'm pretty sure Duke can. I'm pretty sure Michigan State can. I'm pretty sure John Calipari in Kentucky can. So I refuse to let any program out there use COVID as why they are not succeeding. However, there are teams like Cincinnati who had like a month off, who finally has gotten a couple games in since coming off of a month-long timeout. There's other programs out there that have missed so much significant time. St. Louis out of the A-10 missed quite a lot of time. We've seen a lot of teams in the A-10 for UD's conference be impacted by it. So I'm not saying that COVID's not having an impact on some teams, but I'm not going to let Duke and North Carolina and these other programs off the hook and say, oh, it's a COVID year, it's a throwaway year. It is absolutely not. And it's up to the coaches to be leaders during this time to get them over that hump. And I think what you're seeing more so is not an impact of COVID, Kev. I think it's an impact of lack of leadership. I don't think some of these programs have had the proper leadership in place to handle adversity. What adversity does Duke ever face? What adversity does Kentucky and Michigan State and a lot of these programs face? I'm not knocking them. That speaks volumes about who the coaches are and how tightly built the programs are. But I've been saying it all year. These coaches know how to win, but they don't know how to lose. And I don't think these coaches do a good job of balancing how to handle a couple rough patches along the way. And I think that's why you're seeing some of the other teams succeed during this stretch. I mean, I watched the top 16 reveal, and it was so strange not seeing Duke and Kentucky and all those programs come out in your top seeds. Mm-hmm. I mean, 3 of the top 5 teams right now in the top 25 are out of the Big Ten, which is great. But, it's strange. Ohio State's a 1 seed. Michigan's a 1 seed. Baylor and Gonzaga are your 1 seeds, according to CBS this past weekend, releasing their first poll for what, the NCAA tournament could look like. I can't. If Ohio State can do it, Duke can do it. And if Duke's not doing it, it's just because they're not that good. And that ultimately speaks to the recruiting for that class that season and to the coaching for that season and the overall effort. That's all I'm going to say. I refuse to let COVID be an excuse as to why teams are struggling right now.
I look at it twofold. I look at it one side, yes, I believe COVID has a strong impact on this season. And that impact is because of those programs that we're looking at the Duke and the Kentuckys, as those places are one and done factories. Mm-hmm. And the teams at the top of college basketball right now, the Gonzagas. All right, Gonzagas, they're 20-0 right now, number 1 team in the country. But they have a ton of upperclassmen on their team. The only underclassman that gets any rotation is Jalen Suggs, a guy who was a Division I quarterback prospect who had offers from Ohio State, Nebraska, Georgia, to name a few, to go play quarterback at their school. But he decided to go play basketball, and he's going to be a lottery pick in the NBA. And then you look at Baylor. They don't have any freshmen in the lineup. You look at Ohio State, you got a freshman in the rotation in Michi Johnson. But a lot of these...
He's supposed to be in high school right now, by the way.
Yeah. Reclassified and said, I'm going to show up as a Buckeye. Way to go, Michi. But you look at all these other programs, like their Luka Garza at Iowa, their upperclassmen team. It looks like the 90s and 80s, like these are all upperclassmen teams. So I think it's that. I think it's the fact that these teams like Kentucky and Duke, they have the quote unquote talent that's quote unquote better than these guys, but they haven't had that talent cultivate. They haven't had it manifest, like
the chemistry.
Yeah, all those things. And like, okay, like when Boogie Cousins and John Wall and Bledsoe were there, they were there an entire season. So the length of them being there, their talent was able to grow and they were able to practice and all these things. But I do believe with all the starts and stops, it does affect these teams with the quote unquote higher talent. But, when you have teams that are deep and that are veterans, they know how to deal with those things. Like you can't tell me that the 18-year-old Kenner and the 21-year-old Kenner aren't 2 totally different people, maturity wise. So I think
people might say 31-year-old Kinner is very similar to 18-year-old Kinner, but I see your point.
I think the maturity factor of these teams is paying dividends in not only their production on the court and obviously wins and losses, but probably some of the things that they're doing off the court as well. I mean, we saw the video come out with North Carolina after they beat Duke. They're all at the party, having a good time, doing what college kids do. But there's been other big wins by other programs in the country, and you haven't seen that happen. You know, we got a big matchup coming between Ohio State and Michigan very soon. And we're going to see how those guys act after whoever wins that game. I'll be very tuned into that. So I do think there's something to the COVID situation. Now, do I care? That's the other part, because I'm with you on the other part. Oh, well, everybody's dealing with Rona. You're dealing with it. I'm dealing with it. We're all making do. So guess what, Coach K?
It's a life lesson opportunity.
Yeah, guess what, Coach Cal? That's why you're the coach that you are, right? That's why they're paying you the big bucks. That's why Duke football doesn't matter. Duke basketball matters. That's why Kentucky football doesn't matter. That's why Kentucky basketball matters, because you're the guy. So fix it. Because the fan base, they don't care, because all they're looking at is like, oh, he's a 5-star, he's a 5-star, he's a 5-star, he's a 4-star, he's going to be leaving in a year. Why ain't we winning? But you know who else don't care? The other teams don't care. More importantly, they're looking at a chance to beat Duke. Like, it don't matter that it's a bad Duke team. You think these guys ain't gonna be telling? Yeah, man, we beat Duke back-to-back years when I was at University of blah blah blah. The dudes at Wake Forest don't care that the Duke ain't good this year, and neither do I. Oh well, so what? That's basketball.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's having an impact on the results of these games too is, I do believe. I mean, when you talk about home court advantage,
oh yeah,
that. I don't think there's a sport out there. I think football, home field advantage is important, but I don't think it has as much of an impact on the game as much as home court advantage does in basketball. There is a reason that every team. I mean, look, there's a reason that Duke is unstoppable at home.
Yeah.
You feed
refs
when things exactly when things start going wrong. You feed off the energy of the crowd. Let's use the Dayton Flyers. They literally feed off the energy. It's funny. It's been so long since I've been to a basketball game with a full crowd that I saw Ryan Mikesell post or someone tagged him in a video, whatever. He buries a three. It was his last three that I ever hit with the Flyers. And it was the final game of the regular season last year. It was the final game of the season. And he buries the three from the corner, and the crowd just goes berserk, and everyone's on their feet. And I'm like, see, again, that's common sense stuff. Of course, the team feeds off of that, but the team feeding off of that is what leads to those big runs. I think there's a reason that you see a lot of, these games are a lot closer than you think, because you're not getting those home court runs. You're not getting those home court, like those 8-0 runs, those 7-1 runs, those 10-2 runs. You're not getting those runs that you are accustomed to getting whenever you have a full jam-packed arena. And I think it impacts teams like Dayton and even the big Power 5 schools who are used to playing in these sold-out, absolutely electric environments. And I think by not having that, it has impacted these teams. I mean, there are times, I'm amazed at how often Dayton looks flat. They just look flat. And I'm like, how are you so flat? Like, you have guys who can shoot, you have guys who can score, you have big men, and you just look flat offensively. You look like there's just not a care in the world. Not every game, but there are good amounts of games where I'm like, what are they doing? Because they're used to having their fans pick them up in these lulls. And these lulls they naturally happen. But when you're so dependent on a home court fan base to lift you up, even when UD goes on the road, guess what? They have a home fan base that follows them and gives them a little bit of a pick-me-up no matter where they go. Whether it's Maui, whether it's your traditional A-10 road games, whether it's any of those invitationals, period, March Madness, it doesn't matter. UD has the jolt of the Flyer faithful. They don't have that this year.
And a lot of players feed off the negative energy from the other fan base.
Some people feed off of that,
like
the booing and everything.
Yeah, they love it. They feed off that. It amps them up. I actually been to Cameron Indoor, not for a game. I was actually out there in North Carolina visiting family and friends a couple summers back, and we did a little tour of Duke's campus. That arena or gym, or whatever you want to call it, is about the size of this office.
It's tiny.
It is tiny as all get out.
8,000 fans, right?
Dude, and they sit on top of you. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing to watch on TV and how loud that crowd gets. I'll be glad when fans are able to get back into these arenas, man, and bring that atmosphere back, especially to college sports.
Yeah, what 8,000 to 9,000?
I think it's about
9,300. 9,300 is the capacity.
I bet you they put more there.
So when you play home games and you're so used to those fans being on top, you feed off of that.
Yeah.
UD Arena, it's awkward watching that team. You hear the ding, 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 and you hear them run out to the music, and it's just dull and it's flat, and it's not their fault. It's not UD's fault. It's just the time we're playing. And if you can't adjust to that, I think it does. That's not why UD has lost some games, but I do believe, they're a couple points off in some of these games that literally I think a home court advantage would give them some of these wins, or at least give them bigger wins on top of that. Flyers in action coming up later on tonight, 7 o'clock, the tip-off. We have the Dayton Flyers Talking Out Loud, Dayton Flyers pregame show presented by Timothy's Bar and Grill. Sully will be taking over for me coming up at 6 o'clock, so keep that in mind. We'll step away for a few moments. We got some calls on hold that we'll get to on the other side of the break. Around the corner, we're going to get into this, a big coaching hire in the American Conference for college football. This is a huge hire for the conference, and it's an even bigger hire for the Cincinnati Bearcats. I'll explain coming up top of the hour. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
O'Reilly. Need new wiper blades? Not sure which ones to buy? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. We'll show you options for your specific car and even install them for free. Right now, save $10 per pair on Bosch Focus wiper blades, plus earn double O Rewards points. There's no better time to replace your wiper blades. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never-frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Let Audible make 2021 a year filled with the best in audio entertainment. Audible originals, audiobooks, podcasts, and more. Start a free trial at audible.com.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to assist veterans during this COVID-19 pandemic. Even though we are not meeting face-to-face, we are here for you. We understand it is a difficult time with this virus threat and the strain of implementing social distancing. For those Montgomery County veterans who have lost their source of income due to their employers having to close or reduce their business hours due to the COVID-19 pandemic, you may be eligible for COVID-19 special financial relief assistance. Please contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission
information at 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday for more information or to have an application sent to you. You can also visit mcvsc.org. The Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission is here to help Montgomery County veterans during the COVID-19 crisis. Call 937-225-4801 Monday through Friday or visit them online at mcvsc.org.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need a dependable body shop, we're here to help, repairing all makes and models. Our technicians have over 125 years experience. That means we can repair your vehicle quickly and efficiently. Our department is state-of-the-art with new equipment to get you back on the road quickly. We offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball at the point, off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kenner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kenner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kenner.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Happy Tuesday, and hope everyone was able to get out of their driveway this morning and get to work, or hopefully you got to stay home and work, or hopefully you didn't have to work at all. I mean, that sounds like a pretty fun Tuesday.
I got stuck in my driveway.
As well. I did, yeah. I mean, we talked about to open up the show, all the shoveling we had to do today and everything like that. I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate. That's for sure. Lots to get into here in this final hour. I want to open up with this. The UCF Golden Knights.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always pro Power 5, anti-little guy, which is funny because I am a little guy. I'm 5'5". You think I would be all about the little – you think I'd be all about the underdog, right? You think I'd be all about the American Conference. I should be bashing the Big Ten and bashing, the Power 5s and be all about the underdog conference being the American Conference. But for me, I'm starting to change a little. The reason I'm starting to change a little is because it's not the concept that they're not Power 5. It's the concept that they're just not a conference that provides enough competition on a weekly basis to match the resumes of what we see on a week in, week out basis from those in the Power 5s when it comes to college football playoff resume dissection time. Oh, Ohio State, you play Penn State, you play Michigan, you play Michigan State, you play Wisconsin, UCF, you play Cincinnati, and then that's about it. Oh, there was that one time Memphis was good for a bit, but it doesn't add up and it doesn't equal out. It just doesn't. Now, the strength of UCF and the strength of Cincinnati, I think, matters in the quality victory that these two teams need. But I think what happened over the weekend, honestly, has elevated the American Conference to get probably the most respect from a conference that is not Power 5 since the college football playoff started. The American Conference has always been just on the outside, barely looking in, and I don't think that they're in the Cool Kids Club yet, but I think that they're getting the Cool Kids Club invite. I think like they get, if they come in with somebody, they get in the club because they know somebody there, but they're not an official member, but they're going to get a spot at the table. UCF over the weekend pulled off what I think was the biggest surprise of the college football offseason. And for a college football season that has had so much bad happen, it has had so much turmoil. This is my favorite college football story of the year that has nothing to do with Ohio State. UCF just hired Gus Malzahn to a 5-year, $11 million contract, and I could not be happier for UCF. I cannot be happier for the American Conference, and to be honest, I could not be happier for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Let's be clear. This coaching hire was so big for the UCF Golden Knights. It was so big that it keeps Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. That's how big of a move this is, and here's why. The only way that Luke Fickell leaves Cincinnati is after next year when he loses Desmond Ridder and those guys, and those guys are out, and he doesn't have that. The only reason he would leave is if he felt that there was nowhere further for that conference to go and that he needs to spread his wings and go elsewhere. I think the addition of Gus Malzahn is now going to give him that competitive fire, that competitive itch out on the recruiting trail, on the schedule. They're going to, they always circle UCF, but they're really going to circle UCF now. And UCF's really going to circle Cincinnati. I think these two programs are going to put this conference on the map moving forward. And I think it's going to do wonders. I think it's only going to help the conference. We saw what Urban Meyer did for the Big Ten when he got there. Mm-hmm. I'm not comparing Gus Malzahn to Urban Meyer. Gus Malzahn in the SEC is just a good quality coach, right? But Gus Malzahn in the American Conference, that's a guy technically taking a step backwards or whatever, but he adds credibility right off the bat. By the way, he had no business losing his job at Auburn. I don't think he deserved to lose his job at Auburn, especially after a COVID year. And they were a 500 team. They were a top 25 team. They were a good football team. They had no business firing Gus Malzahn. He wanted to wait one more year, fine, but firing him now made absolutely no sense. And then you have a program like UCF who loses Josh Heupel, who takes the Tennessee job. Tennessee's an absolute dumpster fire. They wanted big name after big name after big name. They ended up settling for the coach at UCF, who, by the way, I didn't think did a fantastic job. I thought that the program regressed after Scott Frost left. I don't think that, when you look at what Lincoln Riley did at Oklahoma with Stoops, the program never missed a beat. You look at Ryan Day taking over at Ohio State, the program never missed a beat. The program missed a beat or two or three when Scott Frost left UCF and Heupel took over. So to me, I wasn't a Heupel guy. Tennessee hires Heupel, whatever. And then UCF, I think, man, they're in trouble, though. Like, you lost your coach at a very inopportune time, well after National Signing Day. How do you get through this? And then they ended up getting the hire of the offseason. No program hired a bigger name coach, in my opinion, than UCF with Gus Malzahn. Actually, I do like the Deion Sanders hire from a perspective of the HBCU schools getting a brand name like him that's going to really bring attention to those schools. I think you're going to see that elevate too over the years. But that's a conversation we can have, on top of this one. But I love this hire, and I do think it's strong enough to make them such a power that you could see two top 15 teams regularly in the Bearcats and UCF moving forward to give each other that credible win. UCF and Cincinnati, to me, it's all about the non-conference. It's all about, Kev, they just need one. You need one credible non-conference win, and you need the win between either of those, UCF or Cincinnati. And then you're going to have Memphis flirt with top 25. Tulane was top 25 this year, right? So I think that the conference, all of a sudden, you look at it, they're going to have 3-4 teams top 25. And Gus Malzahn's going to make the conference with the help of Luke Fickell, by the way, because it's not just Gus Malzahn. It's the addition of Gus Malzahn to Luke Fickell already being there. Right. I think those two faces of the conference are really going to add that extra credibility factor that the conference needed. You know me. I like to bash that conference. I'm a huge fan of this. I can't believe UCF loses Heupel at the most inopportune time and ends up with a better coach than what Tennessee ended up with. Like, why wouldn't Tennessee go after Gus Malzahn? I have no clue. But good for UCF in pulling the trigger, and I like the dig that their athletic director had at the press conference. We believe we have the best coach in Florida. There you go. I love it. And by the way, this totally sets up a future duel between them and Florida. And oh, man, I just can't wait. If you can't tell, I'm excited about it. I'm really pumped about the hire. I think it was the biggest win of the offseason for any team out there.
I think Josh Heupel was a good coach at UCF. He was, I want to say, they only lost 5 games.
They got worse and worse each year.
Yeah, but it's hard to come off 2 back-to-back undefeated seasons. And don't forget, he was the OC there. So it wasn't just Scott Frost doing it all by himself.
But I brought up Lincoln Riley.
Oh, for sure.
Ryan Day.
Oh, for sure. I think he was.
I'll let you finish your point. You let me finish mine. I have a problem.
I think he was a good coach there, and I think he was worthy of stepping up to the Power 5 and everything like that. Don't think things are going to work out for him at Tennessee just because Tennessee is a dumpster fire since
I wouldn't have taken that job. No. UCF's a better job.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But to the bigger point here, Gus Malzahn, this hire was tremendous, outstanding. He was the offensive coordinator for the national championship team at Auburn. Got Auburn back to a national championship game where they had basically Florida State on the road. No, they were leading Florida State in the fourth quarter. Jameis Winston had to lead them on a touchdown drive to win it. But nonetheless, they had the national championship in their hands. They end up ultimately losing. But the bigger point is we all believe that Nick Saban is the best coach in college football history. He was 3-5 against his rival. Now, we can say, oh, that's a losing record. But you know what it is? It's respectable. It's a respectable record to have against Nick Saban, a team and a program that you play every single year. Every single year. And he didn't just get those wins at home. We got the home crowd advantage. He went in to Tuscaloosa and had some wins as well. So he knows how to coach football. And that high-powered team that Alabama had, not this previous season that they just won the national championship, but the year that they had Tua and Jerry Jeudy and Ruggs and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle all on the same team at the same time healthy, he beat that team. They beat that team. So Gus Malzahn knows how to coach football. Now, the other part is there's always something shady going on with Gus Malzahn. Shady stuff that happens in college football, a little bit more than the norm. So I would worry a little bit if I'm UCF, is if some of these shady things get a little out of hand or go a little too fast for them. We talk about how programs move too fast for their bridges and everything like that. Auburn, they're used to playing in the shady waters of recruiting and everything. Is UCF used to playing in the shady waters of recruiting? Things that are technically recruiting violations, Auburn can finagle those and make them go away and everything like that. Yeah.
We're going to put ourselves in timeout.
Is UCF, are they ready to get into that world? If they're ready to get in that world, okay, they're going to be a major factor, and so will UC. And I still stand firm on what I believe is going to happen. I believe that UC and UCF will be playing in the Big 12 eventually. If these two teams can stay
sets it up too.
If these two teams can stay on their track, if they can just keep colliding in the American Championship game and having epic games at noon on championship weekend, the Big 12 is going to be like, look, man, there's another media market we can get into in Florida. There's another media market we can get into in Cincinnati. Hey, y'all want to come play with the big boys? It's going to happen. And that hire only helps Luke Fickell in the UC program because you have another team that is now officially invested in winning some football games. Like before, they were invested because they had a good coach and Scott Frost and they were winning games. And then, Heupel kept the thing floating. But now you got a guy with some jewelry on his hands, some big time wins on his hands, wins against Nick Saban, not a win, multiple wins over a rival nonetheless. So he's coming to play. So Luke Fickell, you my guy. I love you. You're a Buckeye. I root for you guys big time. You guys got to come to play because I'm not saying last year was a cakewalk, but with Memphis taking a step back, that was a team that you had to get over. With Tulsa, you got over them. UCF with Malzahn, he's here. He's coming to play. So this is y'all opportunity. Both of them. Forget UC and UCF. This is your opportunity to get to the Power 5 to say, all right, no more being left out. No more being number 5 all season and then getting dropped down a couple spots because we didn't play the game. Once you're in the Power 5, you went out, you're in. So UCF, let's play some football, baby.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I'm hearing a lot of, UCF, don't get comfortable. This is a guy that took a major pay cut to come here. First of all, he didn't take a major pay cut. He was unemployed. He actually made money. You're unemployed.
Also got $16 million not to coach.
21. Oh, it was a $21 million. That's what I have in my notes right here. That's where I was kind of headed with that is that. What is it? So Luke Fickell is making $3.4 million a year. Gus Malzahn just signed on with this with UCF for an $11.5 million 5-year contract. So he's going to be making about $2.5 million a year over the next 5 years. But keep in mind,
you're right.
So when people say, I don't feel bad for Gus Malzahn's apparent pay cut because the dude had a $21 million buyout. He got one lump sum. And by the way, it shouldn't say lump sum. I don't know how is that like distributed over a couple years?
Is it like I don't have $22 million just laying in my bank account.
What's the contract in baseball every year? The one day where he's getting paid. So he's like, for
Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah. So is this going to be like, Gus Malzahn day every year? They're giving him something of this $21 million. But no, seriously, this guy's making $2.5 million a season to coach at UCF. But when you want to talk about the pay cut, he was making $7.5 million or $7 million even a year. He was making $7 million a year at Auburn. Gets fired. Gets the $21 million buyout. So 21 divided by 5? I mean, we're talking, he's technically making about the same. If you divide that up over the next 5 years on top of the $2.5 million he's making per year, plus all the incentives, the dude's set. He's fine. Again, I don't care about. I don't feel bad for any of these guys, by the way. Oh, he only makes $2.5 million. I feel bad for him. But I love this deal because it's just going to add that. I love coaching matchups. I love those head-to-head coaching matchups. Gus Malzahn versus Luke Fickell every year. I'm going to circle that. But you're right. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about it from the American Conference standpoint. But big picture, this sets up the exit strategy for both of these programs. I'm sure the American Conference, they're going to love this for as long as they can. They're going to take advantage of this as long as they can. UCF, is this a springboard job for him, though?
It's always a springboard.
I think it's a springboard conference job. I don't think I'm not saying he wouldn't take a bigger job, but I think the money will come. If you could be what leapfrogs this team out of the American to what you talked about, the Big 12, I think it's a conference leapfrog job. I don't know if it's, him looking for a bigger job elsewhere. This is kind of a fun challenge. I think if any coach ever found themselves going back to the American, I believe the challenge of turning them into national title contenders would be that to satisfy that. Like I always thought Urban Meyer at Cincinnati would have been interesting. Mm-hmm. It would have been interesting. I don't know if it would have happened, but it would have been interesting from the mega competitive standpoint that these guys have. Like I think it would be interesting. But Gus Malzahn, I don't know. 457-946 I'm curious from you listeners. Gus Malzahn at UCF, the chances of him being there 5 years from now is what? Does Gus Malzahn finish out his 5-year contract, Kev? For what is 2021? Is he going to be the head coach in 2026? And keep in mind, coincidentally, look at the contract's very funny. Luke Fickell is signed till 2026.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do a 3-year deal with Gus Malzahn. They didn't do a 4. They did a 5. His contract's up in 2026 as well. So both of these cats are going to be at their schools, at least contractually through that time. But as you know, anything can change. They could take a job elsewhere. I just hope Luke Fickell sticks around a little longer because that makes this more enticing.
Yeah, the easy thing for me to say is Gus Malzahn goes into the American and is very competitive, and these epic games, first UC and everything like that, and then in 2 or 3 years he goes and takes the job at his alma mater, Arkansas. Like, that's the easy play. He's a SEC guy, yada yada yada, all that good stuff. But like, that's the easy play for him to go back to his alma mater. What other SEC job is out there for him to take? I don't know if it goes the way he wants, but I'm just pumped up about this, man. And when I saw it come down, I was hyped because this screams matchup. This screams matchup with UC, and this screams people saying like, oh, okay, well, we know Gus Malzahn can coach. UC beat UCF by 2 touchdowns. Okay, give them another feather in their cap. So that's what excites me about this thing, man. It excites me because of the potential of a great game, and it excites me for the potential that UC is start getting some more love.
All right, 457-9464. The chances of Gus Malzahn being the head coach, finishing out his 5-year contract at UCF is what? Or do you think this is just a quick stop on his way to springboarding to a bigger job, which I hope not, but I would understand it. I just hope not. Kev, who we got on the phone?
We got Mario.
Mario, what's up, man? Welcome.
Gentlemen, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
The Big 12 talk, has that been speculated, or is that just something you guys were banning about there?
Oh, that's just speculation from me. I've been waving that banner since the Big 12 shrunk to 10 teams. I've been saying that UC should be a part of that because if you look at everything that their geographical lineup, it doesn't say Big 12 like it used to. I mean, they have who's in there? West Virginia's in the Big 12. That's not in the footprint. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this can be an avenue for UC to make that play because I know that they knocked on that door. It got closed in their face. But, now that they have a good football program and now that they have another potential big dog in their conference in UCF with a great coach like Malzahn, I think this is something that they can return to the Big 12 and say, hey, can we come in and play with you guys now?
Package deal.
Yeah, like a package deal. I mean, because I know this has been going on for a while, but there was a time that, Baylor and who did Baylor go into the Big 12 with?
Was it Iowa State?
No, Baylor wasn't in the Big 12. They got swallowed up by the Big 12. They got merged with them. So I think that these conferences are always looking to expand their media footprint, but you got to have a good product to sell. And obviously UC basketball is always a solid product to sell, but that football money is always more. So that's something that's, Justin and I have been speculating on for the last couple months.
I think it makes great sense because when UC and West Virginia were in the Big East, for us West Virginia fans out here in Southwest Ohio, every other year they were coming to town, and we could actually. This was a time when you could actually get in your car and drive to a game.
Oh, the good old days.
Game.
As a Mountaineer fan, the closest Big 12 game that you can drive to, that's Ames, Iowa, and that's over 12 hours away.
Oh my!
Thanks, but no thanks. Was it TCU, Kev?
Yes, it was TCU. Yes,
TCU
it was Baylor and TCU. They got involved with the Big 12.
Well, I remember, like I said, when Louisville and UC and West Virginia were in the Big East, they would play in Cincinnati one year and they would play in Louisville the next. And as a Mountaineer fan, you could hit 2 games, 1 game every year, and you would, that was closer than driving into Morgantown. So I'm saying bring them on. Let's
say you some
bring
gas
that rivalry back.
But you know what's cool is like the fact that think of all the big matchups that happen at the Shoe, just an hour from here, here in Dayton, and then an hour south from here. If that happened for Cincinnati, years from now, just to have those big matchups, just to have. I mean, we would have the luxury of having so many great basketball teams and football teams in this area. We'd be very fortunate if that happens. But
right now, the Big 12 is the preeminent basketball conference in America. So
the Big 10? The Big 10, you mean, right?
I'm not going to give the Big 10 that. I'm going to give it to the Big 12 right now. So
break it down, Mario. Break it down.
It's going to play out in March. So that's going to be interesting. But like I said, bring UC to the Big 12. That's going to be great.
Hold on. You can't drop that hot take and then just say, we'll leave it at that. You can't show off the gun and then not have bullets in it. I mean, come on. Let me hear this. The Big 12, college basketball-wise, better than the Big 10?
I think, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. If I'm going to back the Big 12, yeah, I'll say it is because you've got Texas. I know everybody's saying, they're just, who are they? Where have they been? They're a good ball club. You got Oklahoma State, possibly the number one draft pick, running right now in college ranks on their basketball court. You got West Virginia. Yeah, you know what? It's Bob Huggins. It's always a good story. Probably should be in the College Basketball Hall of Fame, but for whatever reason, he's not. And they, Baylor. That's right. Are they number 2 right now?
Yeah, number 2.
So. I mean, yeah, I'll give Iowa. I'll give Ohio State. I'll give
Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah, we'll see what they can do. But right now,
Illinois. I mean, they have 3 of the top 5 teams in the top 5. No, actually, look, I'm not going to get here and tell you that the Big 12 is bad. It's definitely not. You have Texas Tech, who's was a part of the last Final Four. Right. So
got them.
You have Texas Tech and their Villanova's in there. I mean, look, it's a good. They're set. So
don't forget, and don't sleep on the Sooners. I mean, right now, don't sleep on the Sooners. Yeah. But no, like I said, getting back to the football though, which is the bread and butter for most of these conferences, that'd be great to have UC and Central Florida. We'll bring them on to bring the number up to 12. But yeah, would love to see it. But anyway, gentlemen, I appreciate the time and can't wait to hear what you got more to say.
Appreciate it, Mario.
Thanks, Mario. Take care, man. He has me interested. I didn't mean to say Villanova, by the way. I was literally looking at the Big East standings as I said Villanova. Anyways, point is I'm kind of interested in that now. You do have Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
And if Kansas is your traditional Kansas team, you would have Baylor and Kansas.
I think Kansas just got back into the top 25. I think they had 2
they're at number 23 right now, but they've been bouncing in and out. They bounced out last week and then bounced back in. Texas is playing better. I don't see a lot of national title contenders in here outside of Baylor. In fact, I only see one national title contender here in Baylor. But to be clear, when Texas Tech made it to the Final Four that year, everyone knew how good they were, but I don't think anyone tabbed them as being national title favorites. We all know how that season ended for them. But, you look at the Big Ten. Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State, 3, 5, and 4 right there. Michigan number 3, Illinois, Ohio State number 4, and Illinois coming in at number 5. 3 of the top 5 teams right now in the AP top 25. But Iowa, defensively, they've been bad though, and they've really hit a rough patch. I thought the Ohio State win over them doesn't look as sexy as what I thought it did at the time because they've lost quite a few now. But at the same time, Ohio State's rolling. They have size. They have the glue guys. They have the shooters. They have the scores. Ohio State has it all. I'm not saying they're the favorites to win a national championship, but they have everything you need to win a national championship, Kev. And the three-point shooting is just unbelievable for Ohio State. And a lot of it is set by Justin Arns, the kid that's just, from about an hour and a half north of here and from Versailles. So, it's fun watching Ohio State right now.
Sunday, 1 o'clock, baby.
The Ohio State University going up against that team up north.
So
that's a big one.
That's the only matchup they're going to have this year.
It's a top 5 matchup. And it doesn't make up for no football, but you know what? At least these two are competitive. At least this is going to be a competitive matchup instead of Ohio State. Ohio State basically playing Rutgers with, the maize and blue. At least this is going to be competitive. But yeah, the Big Ten though, not as strong as last year. Maryland not as good as last year. You know what? He has a point. Is the Big 12 better than the Big 10 this year? Last year, all but 2 teams would have made the NCAA tournament had we had a tournament. The Big 12, this year you have but you see, the 3 of the top 5 are national title contenders.
Right.
You only have 1 national title contender in the Big 12. This is like the Big 10 versus the SEC talking football. Sure, the Big 10 is, has more top 25 teams, but the SEC, they have more title contenders. That's why I always give the SEC the rub over the Big 10. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on the other side of the break. When we come back, the Cincinnati Reds have added a former Hall of Fame great to their TV broadcast booth. Who can you expect to see on Fox Sports Ohio calling Reds games this season? We'll have that for you when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 20. Tonight's also going to be mostly cloudy, a low around 2. And tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 23. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hey, this is TV personality Eric Bowling with
NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre.
Get out. The NFL Hall of Famer Brett Favre?
Yeah, it depends on if you want money or not, or if I owe you.
Well, okay, I'll take it. We're coming together for a new weekly podcast called Bowling with Favre. From sports to politics to finance, culture, nothing is off limits.
Sounds like a little bit of everything. Subscribe now on the Podcast One app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, liveby.live.com, and everywhere you get your favorite podcast.
See you then.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
This President's Day, Dell honors all you do with exceptional savings up to $300 off. Power your passions with our latest tech, like beautifully crafted XPS computers and powerful Alienware gear featuring Intel Core processors. Work, learn, or play from anywhere with essential electronics, including monitors, plus free shipping on everything. Call 800-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/President's Day. That's 800-BUY-DELL.
Count on the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your car. Get maximum cooling system performance for 10 years or 300,000 miles with Peak Long Life Universal Pre-Mixed Antifreeze and Coolant. On sale now for just $5.99 after mail-in rebate. Plus, earn double O-Rewards points. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'll be right there. We got to redo the whole thing.
Indeed knows unexpected growth can stretch your business thin.
Need to finish these today.
Like at Phil's Machine Shop. To keep carving out more revenue, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly.
This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Discover and enjoy your favorite music, news, and talk radio from live stations across the country. Listen anywhere on all mobile and home devices with the radio.com app.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. A Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 6677 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 6677. Enjoy.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So you want to talk about outliers? Those guys are outliers. You're lucky that this thing's separating us. That's all I got to say. For facts, though. I got your facts right here.
Listen, stream, and now watch. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook to follow along. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Cincinnati Reds baseball opening day will be April 1st, 2021, of course, and the Reds will open up against the St. Louis Cardinals. 4:10 will be the first pitch, and I know that seems like way off in the distance, but February 28th will be the Reds' first spring training game, which, of course, I think pretty much all games you're going to be able to catch on Fox Sports Ohio, and, of course, you're going to be able to catch every game right here on the radio on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. We are Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds. You'll be able to catch every spring training and regular season game, and yes, postseason. Hopefully that is the case this coming up season. But if you are watching on TV, which we all urge you to, listen on the radio, but if you watch it on TV, there's a new addition to the TV broadcast team, and that is going to be Barry Larkin.
Really?
I love this. I really do. I think this was the Reds' way. Barry Larkin really has been pushing for years to be a managerial candidate for this team, and the Reds, I think, could just keep shoving him away. I think this is the way to keep him busy. Hey, you just call the games. Barry Larkin, he might do too good a job, and they might have to, actually hire him. That might be the problem. I don't know. I like Barry Larkin. I think he'd be better at manager, but that's besides the point. But I think he's going to be fantastic in the broadcast booth. It's unfortunate we lost Joe Morgan over this past year, and he was one of my favorites anytime you got him in the booth. Obviously, with the issues with Pete Rose in the past, you're not going to be able to rely on him for a long period of time or at all. You're not going to get the sign off by Major League Baseball on that. So to me, this makes a lot of sense. I'm pumped about this, and I think it's going to be pretty neat. This is the press release. And again, if you head to wingam.com, there's more on this to give you more information. But he's going to be part of the rotation of the broadcast crew that's going to be new this year. Well, he's going to be new this year. Barry Larkin just going to be part of the rotation, which features Chris Welsh and Jeff Brantley. So he'll be a part of that. But I think it's cool. I love the Reds TV guys. And I think Barry Larkin's going to add just obviously his experience, Hall of Fame player, big red machine. I'm pumped about it. Old school mixed with the new school. And I think it's fantastic. I think this is huge for the Reds and for your viewing experience. That's for sure.
That's cool, man. Barry Larkin's one of those guys that everybody's familiar with. Obviously, he's just a name that you saw my reaction, because when you tease those type of things, I try not to go ahead and Google and see what it is because I want to be surprised right along with the listeners. And I was surprised, and I'm super happy about that. I'm pumped about that. That's dope.
Yeah, that was announced earlier today about that. Again, a couple changes. This is the press release from Fox Sports Ohio. Remember, everyone knows the change up that had to happen due to the departure of Tom Brenneman. He was fired. Let's say he was fired. Tom Brenneman was fired because of the insensitive comments he made on the air. I'm not going to say what he said because then I'll be looking for a job like him. But I think anyone familiar with the situation knows what happened. The Reds had no choice. It took a while before they officially pulled the plug, and I like Tom Brenneman, but I was like, there's no coming back from that. You're not recovering from that. You're just not, especially in today's culture. You're just not. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying, there was no chance the Reds were going to find a way to finagle that no matter what. But in the Fox Sports Ohio booth, new play-by-play announcer John Sadak will be joined by several former Reds players serving as color analysts, including the addition of Hall of Famer Barry Larkin, who will rotate with the returning Chris Welsh Welsh and Jeff Brantley. Jim Day rounds out the broadcast team, serving as a sideline reporter, and he will also reprise the popular Jim Day podcast beginning at this upcoming spring training. So I just wanted to give that update to you guys. I think that's a huge addition to the Reds broadcast team. And I'm not going to lie, I think I could say this without being, defending Tom Brenneman, but Tom Brenneman, for a guy that everyone hated, he was great. I don't care what any of you say. Everyone out there ripped Tom Brenneman. This is before he made the dumb comment. People hated him because he just told it like it was, very similar to his dad. I don't think he had the same, he couldn't get away with it as much like his dad. But he was very blunt in a lot of things that he said, but he drove the new school people nuts because he didn't embrace analytics. He didn't like the Reds playing so late at night. My favorite line from him ever, Kev, was whenever he said, when he said that anyone that watches baseball this late at night, they don't have jobs. So he basically insulted everybody that was tuning into the Reds game that night, saying, well, I think it was like a 9 o'clock, it was a West Coast game, but basically just saying, thank you everyone for watching. I mean, anyone that watches baseball this late, you have no job, like saying that you don't have to get up for work in the morning. And of course that upset everybody, but ultimately, he's a tough guy to replace, but I think this is their step in the right direction. I love the Reds broadcasting, not just because we work with them and they, help us out a lot. They're really good. I like their TV and their radio booth, and I think that Tommy Thrall has done an amazing job filling in for Marty Brenneman and being the new voice of the radio Cincinnati Reds.
I'm still tripping on this Barry Larkin thing because I'm almost positive I met him at Reds Fest. I'm almost positive.
Possibly. Since I started here, he hasn't been at any of the he's at the Reds Fest every year. I've never crossed paths with him. My favorite Reds Fest memory or Reds Caravan moment was they added Joe Morgan a few years ago.
Right.
There are very few former Reds players that I get nervous around, that I was so pumped, not nervous, but so anxious and pumped. Barry Larkin would be one. I've never had a chance to interview him, but Joe Morgan, man, I'll never forget that day that, we're sitting up on the stage for the Reds Caravan here in Dayton. All of a sudden you look over and they're walking Joe Morgan up on the stage. I'm like, oh my God, that's Joe Morgan. And that's people's reaction to Barry Larkin and others. And I think this is
Eric
a great
Davis
addition.
is another one of those guys. And, I'm not, everybody knows I'm from Cleveland, so I'm a Cleveland baseball team fan. But there's certain guys that everybody knows. And if you meet them, it's that's cool to meet a guy that's a legend in this game, and especially in this state, and especially playing, for the Reds and everything like that. I think that is so cool.
All right, it's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash. Coming up immediately following the show, Talking Out Loud pregame show live from Timothy's Bar and Grill. Sully is going to be bringing you the Talking Out Loud Dayton Flyers men's basketball pregame show. The Dayton Flyers, Rhode Island, tip-off at 7 o'clock coming up later on tonight. And at 6 o'clock is when Sully will take over for us. So just a little over 20 minutes from now, get you set for the Flyers being in action. They've been off for a week now. They did not play over the weekend. And, of course, right now, it's just a very up-and-down season for the Flyers. And as far as Sully said, it was a much-needed weekend off, and he feels refreshed. I think a lot of Flyers fans do right now. Enjoy the last games that you have this season. As again, I can't believe the conference tournaments are just around the corner, Gab. For all of college basketball. I mean, we're past the midway point of February now, and March will be here before you know it.
Are they doing any makeup games for the games that got
They've
postponed?
been selective on that. They're not going to and that's what Sully's big argument over the last couple of weeks has been, is you don't need to force the St. Joe's UD game to happen. So when that game got canceled, to St. Joe's having to to suspend things, the A-10's not going to force feed UD and St. Joe's. St. Joe's is just garbage this year. Right. They're not going to force feed that matchup later. You know what I mean? With everything going on. So now if it's a game that needs to happen, like a VCU UD or a VCU Rhode Island, VCU St. Louis, those games are going to be made up because those are critical for those teams at large resumes, which UD doesn't have a chance now. But for any team that has an at-large resume opportunity or chance or seeding, a chance to improve their seed, those matchups are going to be made up at the end of the season. Some just are all out canceled.
Yeah, because a lot of people still go back to the old RPI, and if they get 22, 23 wins, they're in the tournament.
It's the net rating.
Yeah,
now.
The net rating and the KenPom and all that type of stuff, that plays a major factor in who gets the dance in March and everything like that. So I'm just curious how that whole situation works, because like you said, there's no need to make up a game versus a team that isn't any good. Make up a game that can help you, Yeah,
from a business standpoint, from the league business standpoint, I get why you would not want to force feed those games. But, I have to think if I'm a player, I just want to play to play. I mean, some of these guys are probably just like, I want to play in the games that matter, and let's just get this season over with. Let's get to the time of season that matters most, which is the postseason. But I think if you ask the players, I'm not saying that St. Joe's is what they have circled on their calendar, but it's another opportunity to play. So the players probably want to play as much as they can.
I'm sure the coaches want the same thing.
I'm sure the coaches want the same thing, but I get, if I'm a conference right now, it's all about just, making the right decisions, even unpopular ones. And the unpopular decisions are, we're not going to reschedule games that don't need to be played. St. Joe's, what are you playing for? Your third win of the season? We don't need you to play a game moving forward. UD, what are you going to be playing for if we make this game up with just an extra win in the win category? I mean, you're not improving your seeding. You're not in that large team. It's not going to help you. So I agree with that aspect of there's two different ways of thinking there, but ultimately the business side of things for the A-10 makes the most sense. Do not force feed these games if you don't have to. You talked about the net rankings too, and a lot of those very similar to what we see. Ohio State comes in at number 6, but you have Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Illinois, and Houston as your top 5. It's where your AP top 25 features all those 4 other than Houston, and Ohio State's at number 4 in those top 5. So I
think it's cool that you can find these. You know what I'm saying? Like the official net ratings come out on the
NCAA. They update them daily.
I think that's cool. I think that's very transparent.
I check them daily. Yeah, and they update them daily.
Like the college football playoff.
Yeah, exactly. They need the pomp and circumstances. They need the show. They need everything. And I'm going through these now. Wright State coming in at number 60. Just kind of going down the list. Wright State ranked ahead of like Duke and Auburn and Notre Dame, Memphis. I was expecting more out of Memphis. Going on with, with Penny Hardaway. He's had some of those key players from his from his time on the AAU circuit. That just hasn't been able to translate to what we thought. Last year, they had James Wiseman. It would have been a different story.
3 games.
It would have been a much different story.
And that goes back to my point about Jalen Johnson. Wiseman played 3 games in college, still first pick in the draft. They don't care.
Oh, no. And real quick to rewind back to that before we close this part of the conversation now. His future is not impacted by this one way or another. This is strictly from my opinion on this at this exact moment. It was the wrong decision to make. Had he started the season and a month into it just said, man, this just seems too iffy. I don't want to risk it. I'm out. You have my support, but there's 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you.
That's just where I'm at. It's the timing of which he did it. I don't like on social media some people trying to shape it as I have this aggressive opinion about telling someone what to do. It's 3 weeks. I'm coming at you. If I'm his teammate, I don't like it. I know the coaches don't like it. And a lot of college coaches through social media have voiced their displeasure. Stop saying opted out. He quit, but stop attacking the kid at the same time. But he did. He quit. I mean, he straight up quit on this season. And people are like, he didn't quit. He's focusing on his future. Well, whatever the motive is, that's what led to him quitting. But it is what it is. It's over with. Move forward. For some programs, it's just about getting through the season and getting it over with so you can kind of hit the reset button heading into next year. Not just the programs and the teams, but the players as well.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on, before we go to break real quick, like you were talking about like Duke's attachment to Zion. And I'm with you. I don't see how they can attach themselves to Zion. Like, I think it's different for every program, but and every player, but it's all about what you do there. Like Kevin Durant, he has his jersey retired at Texas. Like, he kind of put Texas basketball back on the map
because he played Texas
one season.
That's weird.
But he was the National Player of the Year, all the great accolades that came with it. He kind of put them back on the map, so to speak, him and Matt Barnes and everything like that. Obviously, like Carmelo. They won a national championship his one season there. His jersey's retired and stuff like that. I think those programs have an attachment to it. And even John Wall and Boogie Cousins, I think those guys have a huge attachment to their university, Kentucky, because of the attachment to Coach Cal. I think if Coach Cal moves on to another program, I don't think John Wall and Boogie are going to be showing up to Kentucky games anymore. So I'm with you. I don't know what these one and done guys do. Like, I mean, when's the last time you heard Ben Simmons say anything about LSU?
I forgot he went to LSU. I do know that LSU was bad that year. And he, to his credit, finished the whole season. Mm-hmm. At no point did
he, the NIT.
And went into that. And a lot of players, they look at the NIT the way a lot of college football players look at bowl games that are not the college football playoff. It's like, screw it. I'll just go focus on my NFL draft status and not risk getting hurt. But there's that. And someone just messaged in too saying, who are you to tell a kid what they should or should not do. And this is one of the big Flyer fan that's messaging in. First of all, I give my opinion. My opinion means Jack fill in the blank at the end.
Dump button.
Do you think that kid at Duke gives two craps about what I have to say? No, but I'm going to say it anyways. And clearly what I said, you cared enough about to message into the show. And let me put it this way in a way that you can understand. 2 years ago, Obi Toppin had a very, very good year. They won 20 games. They went to the NIT. They weren't an at-large team. They didn't win the A10 tournament. What if Obi Toppin, Kev, would have just said at a certain point throughout that year, you know what? I'm going to not last year. This is the year before. I'm focused on me. I'm focused on going to get my draft evaluation. I don't care about this season. I'm done. Oh, we're not playing in the NCAA tournament. I don't want to play. I'm done. If Obi would have done that, the fan base would have been angry at him. I don't care how loyal this fan base is. You would have been angry at him. That's not who Obi is, so I'm not trying to paint him in a bad light. All I'm saying is I'm trying to kind of give an example of 2 years ago when UD was not in that large team in the NCAA tournament. They lost to Colorado in the NIT that year. And, Obi could have just not played. He could have just not, wanted to play. I'm focused on the NBA. I'm going to the NBA. Now, he probably knew he wasn't going to the NBA, but I'm curious if last year – if UD doesn't play as well, what if Obi Toppin at a certain point last year said, guys, this has been fun, but I got to worry about me, man. I could be top 5 pick. He was top 8. Oh, I could be a top 5 pick. I'm not going to finish out the season, man. Go Flyers. Always, once a Flyer, always a Flyer. But what if he would have pulled that last year if things weren't going as well? Would Flyer fans have loved that? No, they would not have. You would have had a pocket of people that said they support him no matter what, but others would have felt that he quit on the team. That's not who Obi is, and I'm done using his name in that conversation. I'm just trying to localize it a bit. Trust me, if one of your players did that to you, you would be saying the same thing. Just throwing that out there. All right, the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Dayton Flyers, Rhode Island, 7 o'clock tonight, the tip-off. And, of course, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 6 o'clock, you'll have the Dayton Flyers pregame show hosted by Sully coming up here around the corner. We'll step away for a few moments. On the other side of the break, we'll take a look at one of the key additions to the 2021 recruiting class for the Dayton Flyers that happened over the weekend. A lot of buzz around this addition to what was already a stacked recruiting class. We'll talk about not just tonight's Dayton Flyers game, but the future of the Dayton Flyers program as it continues to get brighter and brighter. We will be back in just a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Are you involved with a school or charitable fundraiser that holds an auction, bid and buy booth, or a raffle to raise money? Many of the most popular items at auctions or booths are autographed sports memorabilia items. How can you get great items in your event? Call Adam Walter at Sports Investments. Sports Investments has a consignment program for fundraisers that has provided outstanding items. You select items that are proven sellers, including autographed pieces from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Big Red Machine, the Bengals, the Browns, UC, XU, UK, NKU, Dayton, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Sports Investments consigns the items to your group at a highly discounted price. And when they sell, you keep the profit. You don't pay anything in advance. And if something doesn't sell, you simply return it. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WIMG.
Add a stylish look to your bathroom and save big money during Menards Race to Savings Sale. Max has more than 1,000 bathtubs, shower kits, and shower doors to add luxury to your life. New tile showers give you the realistic look and feel of tile and installs in half the time. Right now, the Halo shower is $1,879.99. Save big money now during Menards Race to Savings Sale. Prices are good through February 20th.
Save big money at Menards.
Tie ball game with the shot clock winding down now. Jones takes the ball to point off the high screen and roll. He puts up the shot at the buzzer, and it's
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Dayton Flyers basketball fans can't make it to the arena this season, but want to experience a safe electric college game day atmosphere? Timothy's Bar and Grill is the spot to support the Flyers all season long. Follow Timothy's Bar and Grill on Facebook and Twitter for select game day specials. Go Flyers!
Hello,
it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
What can help you take advantage of today's low mortgage rates and save money? Rocket can. You could save hundreds of dollars every month by refinancing with Rocket Mortgage at today's near historic low rates. If your current rate is over 4%, with today's low rates, you could lower your payment by over $150 a month, saving thousands in interest every year. With a cash out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, you could consolidate and pay off high interest debt, tackle home improvements that could add value to your home, or even set aside cash for your child's future education. We've already helped over 1 million clients just like you reach their home financing goals this year alone. So remember this. What can give you the technology to refinance easily and save money? Rocket can. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com. That's 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Savings are based on quick loans, internal data. Points and fees may apply. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states and MLS consumer access.org number 330.
Merrill Guided Investing. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner, and Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. Member SIPC.
Buckeye fans, every Monday night at 6 p.m., make sure to keep it locked in right here on Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes for the Buckeye Roundtable Show. Paul Keels and the crew will bring you the biggest Buckeye headlines on the football field and on the hardwood. It's the Buckeye Roundtable Show, Monday nights at 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. We got the Talking Out Loud Dayton Flyers men's basketball pregame show coming up here in what time is it? In 8 minutes. We'll hand it off to Sully coming up here. Top of the hour, presented by Timothy's Bar and Grill, getting you set for the Dayton Flyers and Rhode Island coming up 7 o'clock to tip off. Earlier, over the weekend, the Dayton Flyers added to one of the best recruiting classes in program history on Monday over the weekend. So, yesterday. By the way, this was a long 3-day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This was yesterday, and I felt like it was like over the weekend. It doesn't matter. The point is one of the best recruiting classes in the history of the Dayton Flyers program got even deeper as they add a guard in Lynn Greer III, a 6'3" guard in the class of 2021. He announced his commitment to the program just yesterday. Again, Greer, 2020 graduate, Roman Catholic High School in Philadelphia, and this is just one more addition to what's already a very good class. When you look at the freshmen, Malachi Smith and Deron Holmes and Caleb Washington, Lynn Greer, a lot of ESPN top 300 players right there. Again, I think the last it's a top 20 recruiting class. I don't have the number directly in front of me, but Anthony Grant, we talked about the importance of capitalizing off of the success of Obi and the Flyers last year. Obviously, UD hasn't been able to build off of that wins-wise for this year, losing a lot of games you shouldn't. You shouldn't lose to LaSalle. You shouldn't lose to Fordham. But that's where this team is at currently right now as constructed. But when you look at a lot of those commitments have come from the work that Anthony Grant and his staff has done on the recruiting trail. But what the work that they're doing on the recruiting trail is being solidified and stamped by the on-court success, and it all has everything to do with what they did last year. The game day, being on campus, being number 3 in the country. If there was an NCAA tournament, they would have been a number 1 seed, and they would have had a good a chance as any other team to win. To get to the Final Four. Anything can happen. The reason I don't always jump on board with that is because every year we look at these teams who are locks to get to the Final Four, and then you end up with Auburn and Texas Tech and Michigan State, and I forgot Villanova. You end up with the foremost, Villanova was expected to be there. But there's always teams that get there that you don't expect to get there is my point.
Yeah,
so
things happen in the NCAA tournament. CJ McCollum from Lehigh busts 45 points on Duke.
And boom, and it's a one-and-done tournament. It's not like a series where in the best of 7, this team's going to come out on top. It's you got to be playing your best on this given night, as we all know. But the point is the Flyers able to capitalize on that and add this huge addition to that stacked recruiting class, man. Good for them, good for Anthony Grant, good for the Flyers. The sense I get is get the season over with. That's the sense I keep getting from a lot of fans right now. But to me, with everything that's happened this past year, just a chance to watch your team or listen to your team in general, I'll take it at this point. But I get it. Last year it was the highest of highs, and you're losing to Fordham and LaSalle. It's tough to swallow that. But again, this team's better than those 2 losses. I don't really care about that per se. You shouldn't lose to those teams. But they got a big one tonight with Rhode Island, establishing momentum heading into the A-10 tournament. That's your ticket right there. The only chance you're dancing in March is winning the A-10 tournament and getting big wins to start establishing momentum. It starts tonight on the road at Rhode Island. 7 o'clock will be the tip-off. So Sully's coming up next. We're going to hand it off to him. It's the Talking Out Loud Dayton Flyers pregame show presented by Timothy's Bar and Grill. Sully takes over. He'll be with you on the other side of this. 5 minutes from now, the Talking Out Loud Dayton Flyers men's basketball pregame show presented by Timothy's Bar and Grill. That's next right here on 1410 ESPN Dayton.